Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back wherever you are, however you may be listening. Thanks for making us part of your day. Sometimes I forget to say that, and I always feel like I fucked up when I forget to say it that way. It's an ode to the once great Colin Cowherd. Good to see you guys back today after a long stream yesterday. I'm hoping my voice makes it through today. It's getting a little raspy. The longer the week goes, the more raspy it gets. What the hell? What did I do? What did I do? Why am I getting what the hell? I didn't do anything so far. I've done one thing. Good morning, Jen. You're here?
Yes, I'm here.
There we are. There it is. Are those the first words you've spoken this morning?
No, I spoke to my spawn this morning. So
sorry about that. I'm sorry. Sorry you had to go through that.
But it's been a while. So
well, welcome everybody and Jen. I've got a pretty extensive outline to try and get through today. I know there's some people that want to call in. We're not sure yet if we're going to take calls, but if you do want to call in, you just need to message Jen, JENNDUBB1 on Discord, and she'll at least she'll get that message across. Just a reminder, we are crowdfunded. And so anything you can do to help us meet our crowdfunding goals every single day is greatly appreciated. We're Thursday. We made it through. When was the last time we got banned? Sometime last week on TikTok. So we're doing really well. As you guys are rolling in on TikTok, share it with your friends if you could. Like the stream, and then if you're able to gift, that'd be great if you could help us with that too. That helps pay C Note's bills so he can buy more bulge defining underwear. I don't know if C Note's here, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to C Note's page and check that out. When your arms were crossed, your sweatshirt looked like it said Queen Teen. Oh, that's rough. That's not good. That's not good. Somebody sent this to me a while ago, and I think I did on. I don't remember who it was. Whoever it was that sent me this, it was somebody that lives in Queens. Thanks for the Queens tennis hoodie. I lost it actually, and I was really upset about that. And then I found it in a box, so I didn't lose it. We're back. Let's jump right into it. I want to cover this first. You guys remember this guy? I don't even remember if we covered this or not. I know we talked about it, but remember this guy? There's no sound on this. That guy right there that threw the sandwich at police. I think when we saw this, I said that he was going to be arrested and charged with assault, and he was. But then, as of this morning, a DC grand jury has refused to indict this man named Sean Dunn for throwing that sandwich. They called it a remarkable failure and a sharp rebuke by ordinary citizens, which is unbelievable. Like the grand jury, which of course is made up of just regular people, they're saying like, yeah, they kind of deserved it, which is, I don't know about that ruling, but I like it. It's fine. Like the amount of times police get away with doing shit, the amount of times literally every day, there's a video that pops up on my Twitter of a police officer assaulting someone every day. And almost nothing ever happens. So this dude getting blasted with a Jimmy John's, I think that might be fair. I don't even know. It's a skinny? I assume Jimmy John's is skinny. It could be like falafel. Could be something else. It's the run for me. He's casually running too. And he's like, they're not even close. They're not even One of the things I think we've also learned with all these heavy police takeovers, the ICE raids and the DC takeover, is that maybe not all of our police are in really, really good shape. And that maybe these standards that Pete Hegseth is setting for everybody, maybe we apply that to the police force too. If you can't catch a man who's casually jogging away, maybe it's time for you to get a desk job. Cops getting cooked by a guy in boat shoes. Yeah, exactly. Imagine that. How's your day, honey? It was bad. What happened? This guy walked up in boat shoes. I thought we were good. He just blasted me with a sandwich. Got mustard all over my uniform. Now I got to wash it. That's tough. That's a tough day on the job. If somebody did that to me and I was a police officer, I think I would have laughed. If somebody blasted me with a sandwich, I don't think I'd be that upset about that. If it happened all the time, I'd probably get annoyed of it. But like a one-time sandwich blast, that's pretty funny, objectively. Also, in other breaking news, here's from Ed Krasenstein. Broke this morning, so I'm just going to read the tweet. You can go read the document yourself. I did, but I didn't have time to mark it up. But I thought Krasenstein actually summed it up pretty well. Lisa Cook, who Trump fired from the Federal Reserve governor's position, she's alleging now that Trump has no authority to remove her because the Federal Reserve Act gives governors 14-year terms and allows removal only for cause. And the mortgage allegations he cites predate her service and don't meet that bar. It also says he gave her no due process, no notice, no hearing, and that his move threatens Federal Reserve independence. What she's asking for is a declaration that Trump's purported firing is unlawful and void and that she remains a Fed governor. 2, a preliminary permanent injunction keeping her in office and barring Trump/the board from enforcing his letter while the case proceeds. In short, reinstate and confirm her status and stop the interference. Trump's own letter claims cause, and this I did not know. I just found this out this morning. Remember last week? Could have been this week. We showed like the home inspections guy, and we were talking about Bill Pulte, who is, I don't remember exactly what his role is in the government. I can't remember. It's something to do with housing. And he's like on the board, or he was on the board of Pulte Homes, and that's their family business. Apparently he's the one that's doing this. So he's using his position and he's going through people's tax records. And in this case, he, for some reason, that's his job. He's the one that referred them to Trump. This is just so clearly like a fascist authoritarian takeover that I don't even really think people are arguing it anymore. Like nobody even in our chat really gets mad about it anymore. They've just accepted it, and now they have to decide like, am I on board with it or am I not? And it appears that most of you guys are still on board with it. But it's like Laura Loomer and the entire administration, like all they're doing is they're just trying to root out anybody who is not absolutely 100% loyal to Donald Trump. And it's I don't think it's that bizarre that it's happening, because I do think, at least on our side, we're vindicated in that prediction. All that hysteria you guys had, like, you're calling everyone a fascist, that's not fair, that's why you're losing, which maybe, but we were right. And I think you guys know that we were right. And we see it every single day. Fortunately for us, I do think that people are catching on. Like it's almost impossible to defend this now. You've seen that with almost everybody that debates with us. You're already seeing the distance between Trump. Like people who voted for Trump are already saying like, I don't like what he's doing, but I like these conservative principles. Like you're already seeing that separation with regular people. But every day I just wonder, like I see a clip of Trump and I'm like, how are we here? How did I just have to spend the last 2 years defending Joe Biden because he was old and he got lost in his sentences, and you guys said it was the end of the world, and then clips like this exist?
This amounts of water, they send it all into the Pacific Ocean, trying to...
Oh, he's talking about California's water situation here.
Protect a certain little fish that's not doing well, because it doesn't do well without water either. And it shouldn't be a protected, because it shouldn't be a protected species. But I think that's actually just an excuse.
This is the smelt, and I don't believe it's in California. I think this fish is in Montana or something, or it's like north. It's not even where he's talking about.
These people are sick. There's something wrong. So we send hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day into the Pacific Ocean. They turn a valve.
Yeah, that's how rivers work. That's how oceans work. If there wasn't water flowing into the ocean, there wouldn't be an ocean. It would just dry up eventually, right? That's how water works. That's how rivers work. Rivers flow to the ocean if they're near an ocean, right? But eventually it just flows out that way. It goes from the high point to the low point. Sea level is generally the low point, so the water goes down to sea level. Isn't that weird how that works?
valve, and the valve heads out, and we turn the valve back.
The Delta smelt is in Sacramento? Okay. I remember Gavin Newsom talking about a fish that was like in Montana. Jen, will you look? I know that I've largely accepted that the smelt was in these rivers, and then I heard Gavin Newsom say that. That's why I said I don't know. Jen, will you check to see if that fish exists in Sacramento or not? We got to get to the bottom of that.
Actually had to do it.
My memory is that it might be there, but I'll confirm.
Okay.
It might be there. I'll check.
Thanks. Let me go back a little bit here.
They turn a valve, and the valve heads out, and we turn the valve back.
That's not what he did. That's not what he did. This dumb bitch forgot what he did because he's dumb and he's a bitch. He turned the valve. He opened the valve. It was closed. He opened it. He didn't close it. He opened it. He doesn't remember what he did here. He can't even keep his story. He's trying to criticize Gavin Newsom right now, and he's bragging that Gavin Newsom was wasting water, so I closed the valve. No, bitch. It was closed. You opened it. Gavin Newsom got it closed again. He doesn't even remember what he did. And he's bragging about it. And he's like criticizing Newsom here. Does anybody remember? This wasn't that long ago. He had the Army Corps of Engineers open the valve, and then they sent the water down to the farmers, and the farmers were like, what the fuck? We don't want this water right now. We need this for irrigation season. And he lost billions of gallons. And now he's trying to tell you that what really happened is he closed it because they were wasting water.
Actually had to do it using force. We turned the valve back, and now they have water, but not as much as they should have, because they should, and I'm telling Gavin Newsom by this conversation right now, turn the rest of the water on. Turn it on.
Turn it on? Hold on. What? Turn it on? This is incomprehensible. I don't ever want to hear another person bring up Joe Biden. This guy has lost his fucking mind. In that sentence, he took two different positions. He just said, I turned the water off, and at the end, he told Gavin Newsom to turn the water on. He's the one that turned it on. He has the entire story backwards. And it's his story. It's not like somebody gave him a story and he's repeating it and he just got it screwed up. This is what he did. He's telling you a story that he did like 2 months ago. And it's completely backwards. I'm getting lost in semantics. You're getting lost in semantics. Yeah, I guess. This is great. You guys are in such a fucking cult that when you hear a bumbling idiot say the exact opposite of what happened, you're like, why are you talking about this? Why don't you just ignore it and praise him like we do? This is not that hard. Ignore everything that this man does and praise him. Lie about him, lie for him. And if you don't know what's happening, just blame Joe Biden. Just do a whataboutism. This isn't semantics. This is a 80-year-old man losing his fucking mind right in front of us. And every day I'm like, how do you guys not realize this? How is nobody in the GOP standing up to this? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember. It's because they only elect dumb people now. This is who's running against Marsha Blackburn, who, if you took an IQ test for every governor in this country, there's a good chance Marsha Blackburn comes in like in the bottom 5. But she does have a GOP challenger. And this is the GOP challenger. His name is John Rose. And here's what he had to say on, is this face? I don't remember. This might be Newsmax. I can't remember what this is.
January 6th in total was a mostly peaceful protest by the standards of that day. Most of the people who came to Washington to participate in the president's rally earlier that day did not come into the Capitol. Most of them were there in a peaceful way. And
true.
Even those folks who ended up entering the Capitol who should not have, it was against the law to do so.
Because they broke through windows.
Absolutely. And they have been resoundingly punished for that.
They all got pardoned, you dumb bitch. What are you talking about? Every one of them got pardoned, including the ones that committed seditious conspiracy that were going to be in there for 30 years. They've been resoundingly punished. They didn't even have to serve their sentences. A lot of them.
I would tell you, by the standards of the past, you know, these were not the first people to break into the Capitol. And so it was an unfortunate.
Huh? Who's he talking about? What do you mean? What do you mean they're not the first people to break it? Like in our lifetime? Who else broke it? Do I not remember a story? Like, who broke into the Capitol in his lifetime? We got MAGA in the chat. This might be a conspiracy theory I'm unaware of. Like, where was the British? Yeah, I know about 1812. Yeah, what is he talking about? This isn't an alphabet network, dummy. I don't think this is this CNN? This cue the guys, and please everybody make fun of I main Fidel. Please make fun of that. Please. What how do you want me to he's not gonna come on my show, dude. These guys aren't gonna come on my show on YouTube. They're never gonna show up on YouTube because we ask real questions. So how do you want us to cover the news if we can't use clips of them? This is uncomfortable for me, and I don't have an answer. So I'm just going to point out that this is network news.
Fortunate occurrence. I still don't think we've gotten completely to the bottom of that. We know that, for example, the FBI and other national security agencies had people embedded with that crowd.
No. Just no. How do we not know that? Like, how do we not know this? MAGA, how do you guys not know this yet? How do you not know what these FBI informants were doing? Do you know why we know they were there? Because we did an investigation. He's like, we know that there were FBI people embedded. No, they weren't embedded. Embedded would mean they were placed there. They were informants who saw their opportunity to overthrow the government, and they went for it. And we did a full fucking investigation. That's how we know who they are. The FBI spent years analyzing videos. They did years of investigations. The only reason any of you know that there were FBI informants is because we investigated it. That's the only reason you would know that. You would have no other way of knowing that. Right? This is a bizarre thing that this guy's saying. He's saying we don't know. No, we know. We know exactly who they were, and we know exactly what their role was with the FBI. All of them were informants. All of them were part of extremist groups. Some of them were giving good information to the FBI. Some weren't. They were all just informants. But these were not agents. They were not placed there. They were not stationed there. They just didn't like the answer that they got. And I think that that's most of what republicanism. What did I do? Fake engagement? Fuck TikTok. God, get fucked, man. I'm so tired. Every day TikTok limits our audience for fake engagement. What does that mean? I don't even. Are you guys? Is your engagement fake over there? Every day.
We've still never gotten a complete answer on what their roles were and the degree to which perhaps they were instigators and what actually happened there. So it was an unfortunate incident that happened. I think it was a mostly peaceful protest that day, punctuated by some violence that was unacceptable and indefensible at the end of the day. And no one should break into the Capitol.
You criticized Senator Blackburn for changing her vote and certifying that election.
At the time, I didn't talk about that a lot. I've been asked about it since, but I believe that the two issues were separate things. Certainly the break-in of the Capitol, again, as I've said, I don't think there's any justification for what happened there, but I don't think it was an insurrection as it's been characterized by many.
Yeah. The only reason they're saying this is because they have to. This is what is alarming about the GOP and why I say, like, that's why Donald Trump can be dumb. Because they have to say this. Nobody believed this. On January 6th, every Republican that was there, everybody watching on TV, it was so easy to condemn. And they were condemning Donald Trump because what they thought at the time is, this is the end of Donald Trump. He will never recover from this. And so I'm going to be on the right side of history. And then he recovered from it. And then they're all like, I never really thought it was an insurrection. No, it was really no big deal. They're all running out of the building. They're all hiding behind pews. Like, every one of them. There isn't a single Republican on that day that went in front of cameras and was like, it's mostly peaceful. I don't know. Every one of them was like, this is a disgrace. This is an attack on democracy. Donald Trump should be held accountable. And then like 6 months later, like, what happened? Oh, there were people. I didn't even notice there were people that showed up that day. I don't even remember that. Yeah, it seems like that was a real peaceful day. I consistently appreciate being called slurs, the R slur, by the dumbest people in our chat every day. Thanks for being here and boosting our engagement every day. I will note that what you will mostly do is attack me personally, and not a single one of you can discuss what we're talking about here, and that's good. I think there's a good, like, I think if people are coming here with an open mind, they're going to see like the dichotomy between angry psychopaths in the chat screaming at me and people watching and discussing the videos that are in front of us. I cannot believe this was on Fox News. I can't believe this wasn't edited out. I can't believe I can't believe a host did this. You had Andrew Cuomo go on Fox News, who now he's pandering to right wingers. This is who you guys have become. Like, you're relying on Andrew Cuomo. You guys have now become just another like sex pest. You're like, we don't really mind that. Be a sex pest. We like you over here on the right. And here's what they had. Here's what they played. This clip right in front of Andrew Cuomo, which is amazing. I wish they would do this more to Republicans, but here was some actual journalism by Fox News.
He said this week about your loss to him in the primary, and he alludes to something else here as well. Watch this.
Andrew Cuomo is a man who doesn't understand that no means no. I won the most votes of any primary victor in New York City history, and still he thinks that New Yorkers want him to lead this city.
So you can kind of see what he did there. He's alluding to the reason that you resigned the governor's office, sexual harassment accusations, and I imagine you're going to hear more of that post-Labor Day. Are you concerned about that part of the story becoming more highlighted here?
No, we've lived through that part of the story. Those accusations have all gone nowhere.
He said this week.
You resigned, dude. What do you mean they've gone nowhere? You resigned. You had to step down. Amy Lynn said, let the popping off begin. How many giggles were going on in that grand jury courtroom for the sandwich store? Sorry, I missed that. And Amy also said Roger Stone met with the Proud Boys just before January 6th. Again, like, we covered this yesterday, but for the MAGA folks that are here, the Trump administration, the Trump DOJ is in court saying that even though the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio and Joe Biggs, and I forget the three other people's names, they're in court saying that their convictions were just, that those convictions have not been overturned, and that Enrique Tarrio and his friends can't sue the government because they haven't been able to prove that these convictions were unjust. Just so you guys are clear, I'm on the same side as Pam Bondi right now. I'm on the same side as Donald Trump right now. So all of you who are saying that like January 6th was nothing and that they were framed, fine. You can be upset about it, but I hope that you're going to Pam Bondi's Twitter page right now. I hope you're going to Donald Trump's True Social, and I hope that you're criticizing them in the same way that you're criticizing me, because they agree with me. They agree with me that those convictions should stand and that they should not be allowed to sue our government. On the same day, though, they're restoring Ashley Babbitt's military credentials so that she can get full retirement and a military funeral, which is crazy. I watched the video. You guys can go watch the video of Ashley Babbitt if you want. But for the love of God, can you explain to me how and go watch the videos before she gets to the Capitol too, screaming. She's a psychopath. Screaming in her car, threatening everybody. She went there to do violence. She had a gun pointed at her. All these brave MAGA men pointed out the gun. Like, there's the gun. And then they broke through the window and they're like, what should we do? I know. Let's send in the woman first. And all these bitch-ass MAGA men sent a woman in first, and she got shot. She was warned. She had a gun pointed at her. They told her not to enter through the window, and she did it anyways, because they all thought that they were just going to be able to do what they wanted. They all thought that they had the right to do that. They all thought they were just going to be able to go into Congress and do whatever the fuck they wanted. And the last line of defense was a single gunshot. And by the way, that stopped all of the men. Did you see the men then storm? Did they all storm in after that? No, they didn't. They all cowardly backed up. They sacrificed a woman who was crazy. So while they're committing a crime, are they using women as human shields? Is that what you guys are doing there, MAGA? Use those women as your. I know you don't care about them. They don't really have. They don't really need rights. Like if she's not carrying a baby, who the fuck cares, right? So you use a woman as a human shield, then you all cowardly back off, and then because of the optics of that, and because of the MAGA hats, and because Trump refused to do anything, you guys all now are forced in a position where you have to pretend that none of this happened. And I that video I made, it's done really well on Instagram. Well, I didn't make it. It's from a clip before, talking about how you guys will all 10 years from now, you're all going to pretend this didn't happen. You're all going to pretend that you didn't support this. You're not going to be saying the same shit. Once Trump's gone and reality sets in and people are required to tell the truth again, you'll all lie about this. You'll all be like, yeah, dude, that was bad. You know, I voted for him because of other stuff, but that was bad. It was, in fact, I was conflicted when I voted. You'll all lie about this. But that's on the same day that they're saying that these crimes were committed, they're also saying that Ashley Babbitt didn't commit a crime, which is weird. All right. Then it got more weird. Here is our HHS secretary who is not a doctor, not an expert, and not somebody. He has said you shouldn't listen to me. Specifically, he said you shouldn't listen to me. And he made a couple announcements yesterday. But first, I want you to see the guy who says don't listen to me apparently can diagnose people with his eyes.
Primarily because I came from a big family. I have 7 kids. I had 11 brothers and sisters. I had about 70 first cousins, and I never saw anybody with diabetes. I never knew anybody with a food allergy. I never knew anybody with autism. When I was a kid, and I know what a healthy child is supposed to look like. I'm looking at kids as I walk through the airports today, as I walk down the street, and I see these kids that are just overburdened with mitochondrial challenges, with inflammation. You can tell from their faces, from their body movements, and from their lack of social connection. And I know that that's not how our children are supposed to look. And when my uncle was president, I was a 10-year-old boy. The rate of diabetes in this country, of juvenile diabetes, was close to 0. The typical pediatrician would see.
All right. I do want to point out that when he's like, there were 70 cousins, 7 kids, isn't it called Kennedy disease? Isn't there a disease that's like colloquially named after their family because so many people in their family have it? I think it's Addison's disease, which is an autoimmune disorder affecting the adrenal glands, and they also celiac disease. It runs rampant through the Kennedys. Like you said his aunt was. It says I don't know if that's disabled or diabetic. It looks like you mixed the 2 words together. Yeah, he had brain worms. Like, what are we doing here? This guy. This is not a serious country. This guy's just up there saying, like, I can just look at people, and because I can look at people and it looks different to me, 70-year-old former heroin addict with a brain worm. We must change things. So he goes out and basically what they've announced, and I got to get the clarification on this because I haven't seen like the official documents. But what if we take what Robert F. Kennedy is saying, and what I've gathered from people from HHS is that he is now saying, without any evidence, that the COVID vaccines are not safe. But weirdly, he's leaving the COVID vaccines for elderly people, which is weird. Like, it's either safe or it's not safe. And the reasoning behind not making it available anymore is because they didn't do adequate testing, which is fair. They didn't do adequate testing before they released it, or they didn't do a ton of testing because we rolled it out like we're in the middle of a pandemic. It didn't have the normal amount of testing. But that was 2022, 2025. We now have adequate testing. The whole world used it. It saved millions of lives. And I told you guys this before, and I think it was pretty obvious. You have to remember who RFK is. He is a lawyer, and he loves class action lawsuits. That's how he made most of his money. When he first got introduced, and he started talking about how he had these pre-drawn conclusions that he was going to prove, it was really apparent at that point that what he was doing is setting up lawsuits. And if you have the government, the CDC, saying that something isn't safe, or if you have the CDC saying that the vaccine should not have been rolled out, you now get to use that as evidence in a court of law because the federal government is saying it. So now he's just the source. He doesn't have evidence. He's not showing you a study, by the way. He's not presenting any evidence here. He's just saying, I'm changing the conclusion. Not based on new evidence, just based on literally the same stuff he was saying 2 years ago. He hasn't introduced anything new. What's going to happen is his friends, and maybe him when he leaves office, they're all going to sue these pharmaceutical companies. And you're going to see a bunch of people claiming vaccine injuries that are going to go sue pharmaceutical companies. And that's like, as much as I hate the pharmaceutical companies, and I do, and as much as I think they should be sued, and I do, this is one more instance of them doing half the research, and this will raise the cost of pharmaceuticals because those companies are going to want to recoup that. It's going to increase their insurance rates. It's going to hurt their bottom line, and they're going to recoup that on the backs of American citizens. So we're going to have massive amounts of lawsuits now citing the government, and the government's not citing any new information, and they are going to sue the vaccine makers. Cool. This is a cool country we live in. Here, he went on Fox News to explain this.
Fired after refusing. IC director was fired after refusing to resign as her lawyers accuse you, sir, of putting millions of American lives at risk as a CDC vaccine chief slammed in a resignation post. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
I'm not going to.
Oh, I'm not worried about profits. I'm worried about pricing. I could give a fuck about the pharmaceutical companies. I think they're all disgusting. But weirdly enough, like, the stuff that pharmaceutical companies should be sued for, they're not going to be sued for. Instead, we're going to sue them for vaccines because you guys have, and mostly because of like pride and stupidity. You guys all sold us on this narrative. You all believed that vaccines were harmful. The vaccine mandates were so devastating. And you kept telling us that we'll see. When the science comes out, you'll see it's actually going to kill more people. And none of that science has ever come out. Nobody has ever been able to prove your guys' claims. So you just joined an administration that's like, we literally don't fucking care about evidence. We're all going on our gut. Every one of us is going on our gut. And that works for you if you're MAGA because you're lazy. You don't think about things. You don't demand evidence. If you just like, if your gut feels something, you're like, yeah. I'm going with that. I don't care what the evidence is. So this is literally just RFK using a platform to be like, I was right, but he wasn't right. And now the pharmaceutical companies are going to get sued, not for the things that they should be sued for, but for this shit. And it's going to cause the price to go up. We're going to have epidemics. I don't know if we can explain to you, MAGA, how serious this is. In this country and around the world, people used to die a lot younger. And they died because we would have these diseases that would come through and they would wipe out populations. And there wasn't a goddamn thing we could do about it. And then they invented vaccines. And vaccines gave people herd immunity. Vaccines made it so that the viruses couldn't attach and the virus would die. And we eradicated multiple viruses. All those vaccines that you get as a kid, those were all things that were killing America, killing like thousands of people. And so we got a vaccine so that thousands of people didn't die and so that they could live longer lives. And now, due to people like RFK and any dipshit in here, if you are anti-vax, honest to God, you are a dipshit. You cannot be anti-vax based on the science. It is all feelings. And I apologize because I think some of my audience is also maybe anti-vax. But if you are anti-vax based on fear-mongering, based on, even if you are anti-vax because you think it increases the rate of autism, would you rather have your child be autistic or dead? Right? That's what you're choosing here. So now we have the fucking plague in Washington. We haven't had a case of the plague in decades. We have measles. Is it measles in Texas? I think it's measles in Texas. In all these right-wing, like MAGA areas. Disease is back. That's what they're bringing back, disease. Can you guys just explain to me, Maha, this movement? RFK is like, oh, everybody's so sick. We have chronic disease in this country. If you look back before we had vaccines, we didn't have chronic disease. Nobody lived long enough. Okay? You know what I mean? You had a lot less people with Parkinson's. You had a lot less people with dementia. You had a lot less people with Alzheimer's. You know why? They didn't live long enough. There's a lot of diseases, a lot of chronic disease in this country that, yes, we should address. Yes, we can work on. But a lot of our chronic disease is in the elderly. And you know who doesn't get diseases that the elderly get? People who aren't elderly. People who die before they're elderly. So yes, there are new challenges. Yes, there are new diseases. Yes, we have an increase in autism, and that could be for a myriad of reasons. But even if I were to grant all of you lunatics, every point, if I granted you every single point when it came to vaccines, the end result is people live much, much longer. And if we get rid of vaccines, people will die. People will live shorter lives. We have a documented history of no vaccines versus vaccines. And when people are vaccinated, they live a hell of a lot longer. So this is all just nonsense. And this is why I say you're all lazy thinkers. Because RFK says, and Trump said it yesterday, like 1 in 40 people now are diagnosed with autism. It used to be 1 in 18,000. Do you ever think, like, what are the possible explanations? Could it be vaccines? Sure. I haven't seen any evidence of that, but sure. Could it be better diagnosis? Sure. Could it be that people evolve? Sure. Could it be that these things, like some of these things that they're counting as autism and disease, like for me, I have ADHD. That's great for me. I would be much worse at my job if I didn't have ADHD. If somebody asked me today, would you trade ADHD and not have ADHD? I would say no. Are there more people with ADHD now than before? Yep. Could it be evolution? Could it be us adjusting to the way that we work, to the way that our environment is, to the way that we interact with others, to the advent of the internet? Of course. Could things like social media, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, could that expose people potentially to be diagnosed more with ADHD because it's more recognizable? Yep. It was much harder for doctors to diagnose ADHD. I went and I saw a doctor when I was a kid, and the doctor's like, maybe, but I don't even know if ADHD is a real thing. That's what my family doctor told my mom. He said he thought that people, I don't even know if it's a real thing. So I was undiagnosed. Guess what? I never brought my homework to school. Most of the time I didn't do it, but the times I did it, I would just lose it. I would lose my shoes. I would lose my backpack. I lost everything because once it was out of sight, out of mind, and nobody was like, it might be ADHD. It was just like, you got to do better. Now I know what it is. Now it's diagnosed. I don't have to necessarily treat it with medicine. I can adjust. I can recognize like my weaknesses and my strengths, and I can prepare for that. It's an easy thing to do. But that's what they're saying. They're telling us all these things. They're so problematic. People were dying before. I'm sorry. Like almost all of my friends are on the spectrum. They're great. I would prefer, and I don't want them to change. And I really like, one of my favorite things about my friends, and you guys might share this, some of you might disagree. Probably my favorite thing about like my friend group is that they're alive. That's my favorite part about them. I hate it. I lost one of my best friends like 2 years ago. That fucking sucked. I wish he was still alive. He also was neurodivergent. Didn't bother me. It's one of my favorite parts. I've showed clips of him. I've showed clips that he used to send me these funny videos all the time. He was just a different guy, but he would send me videos of interacting with strangers. I still go and I watch those videos. I wish he was here every day. Would I trade that? Would I trade his neurodivergence for death? No. And that's what you guys are saying now. That's what RFK is saying. Here he is on Fox.
A comment, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on a personnel.
By the way, again, like when you say like what's wrong with a little autism, you guys can't. There is no proof that autism is tied to vaccines. So now let's get real. Now let's talk about that. I didn't grant you that argument. You don't have any evidence that vaccines cause autism. I just granted you that to say, like, even if best case scenario you were right, even if, I would still rather have alive people. But now let's go back to the facts. You don't have any evidence that vaccines cause autism. None. All you have is that people are vaccinated and autism rates have risen. That's it. That is not correlation. It's not causation. It's just two things that both exist.
Issue. What I will say is, President Trump has very, very ambitious hopes for CDC right now. The CDC has problems. We saw the misinformation coming out of COVID.
Oh, what misinformation did the CDC put out? Let's see what he says was misinformation now. Because now we're using words incorrectly. Let's see, RFK. Real quick, Amy Lynn said, I learned from my many diagnoses, including some with ADHD, actually have trauma, emotional deregulation. Kind of interesting. Yeah, that's what I learned about my ADHD, too. Electric Dad said, in Kennedy's day, smoking was medicine. Frankie said, mRNA testing has been going on for many years. It's not a new thing. They had to find the strand they had the first weekend, then tested that till they approved it. What psychopath works out wearing jeans? That's a good point. All right, here's the misinformation he's going to list. Let's find out if this is misinformation or if this is stuff he doesn't like.
Coming out of COVID, they got the testing wrong. They got the...
What testing did they get wrong? Where's my anti-vaxxers here? What testing did they get wrong? I don't know of any. Share it in the chat.
Social distancing, the masks,
That wasn't misinformation. That was a guess. Right? It's not misinformation to guess. Airborne viruses can only travel a certain distance, right? So they said historically, if you look at the flu, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Dr. Fauci's answer was historically, like the flu, like within 3 feet, outside of 3 feet, you're safe. This seemed to be a stronger virus, so they're like, let's just say 6. Let's just be safe, and we'll double it. Let's say that it's 6 feet, and let's do masks. And every study I've seen on masks, because I've looked, it doesn't conclude that masks are ineffective or that masks make it worse. It's that we didn't have proper masking. And most people, like myself, because we didn't have them, I just wore the same cloth mask every day. And that wasn't super helpful. In fact, it was barely helpful at all. But that's what we learned. We didn't learn that masks don't work. We didn't learn that 6 feet didn't work. We learned that the masks were less effective than we had hoped. And we learned that the 6 feet number was just arbitrary. It was a guess. That's not misinformation. That's a fucking guess. They told you it was a guess. They've always said it was a guess. They never said, we did years of scientific research and found out that 6 feet, if you're 6 feet apart, nobody will get COVID. Nobody said that. Again, the truth is, with RFK and all of you, is you started with the conclusion and you're still working backwards. When COVID first showed up, all of you said it was fake. Donald Trump said it was fake. Donald Trump said it would be gone in a week, and you all bought into that, and you all called everybody else crazy, like, oh, you guys are overreacting to everything. And then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. But you weren't allowed to accept that. So you had to work backwards. You started with the idea that it's fake. And now what you're left with is vaccines have side effects. Yeah, no shit. Mask mandates weren't as effective as we thought. No shit. And the 6-foot rule wasn't scientific. No shit. But remember that you started with it was fake. That's where all of you started. And now this is what you're left with. You're like, the government lied to us. Did they, though? Did they? Because every time I ask you guys what the lie is, I'm asking RFK here, what's the misinformation? Every time you tell me what the lie was, you tell me something they never said.
The school closures that did so much harm to the American people. Oh, today on...
One more thing. School closures, mask mandates, 6 feet distancing, all of that was done on a local level. If you're upset about that, talk to your mayor. If you live in a small red town, they probably never had mask mandates or 6 foot distancing rules. So shut the fuck up. But I live in Arizona. John Giles was our mayor. The reason that every single limitation we had from COVID came from John Giles. It was written and it was signed by John Giles. It was not signed by Joe Biden. It wasn't signed by Dr. Fauci. It wasn't signed by the CDC. If you weren't allowed to go outside or go into a building without a mask on, get mad at your mayor. Most of you that live in red states, though, this didn't affect you. I was in Utah a lot during this time, and I would go from Arizona to Utah, to St. George, Utah, and nobody wore masks. Not one person. And those same friends of mine that live in St. George, they are the most outspoken about COVID. Why? Because they just want to be right. They said it was fake, and they proved it by, we didn't wear masks. You didn't prove anything. You just started with a bad conclusion. And you can't admit, you know it wasn't fake now. So you go backwards. But if you didn't like what was happening, talk to your mayor. Talk to your city council. This was not federally mandated.
CDC's website right now, they list the 10 top advances, the 10 greatest advances in medical science, and one of them is abortion. Another is fluoridation, another is vaccines. So we need to...
Fluoridization and vaccines. There's no evidence. He doesn't have evidence that fluoride causes problems or vaccines. So everything he just said here that was misinformation, none of it was misinformation. Who said that? Ant said, I'm in Arizona. Governor's order screwed us. I literally got kicked out of the gym. Gym got shut down by cops. Okay. All right. Did people die from COVID? It really is like kind of a selfish thing, right? Like, go do some push-ups, man. You live in Arizona. It's nice outside, like 8 months out of the year. Do some push-ups. Run in place. Do some jumping jacks. Do some pull-ups. Do some squats. Do some body weight exercise. You want me to feel bad about that? It's not fair. I couldn't go to the gym anymore. Okay, toughen up. But it's still not the federal government. It's still your local government. All right, we're done with RFK on that part. So he goes on Fox News to talk about misinformation, where he doesn't cover any misinformation at all. And then let me go to this. Then he says this on the same interview. Now, look, I'm not going to criticize anybody for using nicotine. I've told you guys recently I stopped using nicotine pouches because it was giving me like the head spins. I've liked nicotine. I'm a fan of nicotine. I've never been a smoker. I liked it. There is no scientific evidence that says it is safe. There is scientific evidence that says like it's good for the brain. There's some unconfirmed, but early studies saying that for elderly people, it's good for their memory. I can't remember if it's dementia or if it's I think it's dementia. Like they've seen like some progress in using nicotine for dementia. But again, I just want to show what RFK says here now, because RFK will take away medicines without evidence, and then he will also advocate for things without evidence.
HHS Secretary RFK Jr.
Go lift a log, my guy.
says the pouches are the safest way to consume nicotine. Griff Jenkins joins us now with more. Hey, Griff.
Hey, Ainsley, good morning. Well, you may have seen these little tins popping up everywhere. Inside are small white tobacco-free nicotine pouches you place between your gum and lip as a smoke-free, spit-free alternative to tobacco. And HHS Secretary Kennedy says they may be the best alternative to cigarettes. Watch.
Nicotine itself does not cause cancer. There's no evidence that it's carcinogenic. Nicotine pouches are probably the safest way to consume nicotine. Vapes are second, but the thing that we really want to get away from is cigarettes.
And Kennedy sees a need to save Americans from the more than $600 billion in cigarette smoke-related health costs, ultimately saving lives. Kennedy sparked speculation of being a supporter of Zyn back in January when he appeared to pop one in his mouth during his confirmation hearing. But
all right, so like again, no big deal. Like I don't care if you do nicotine. I think that Americans should be allowed to take things in their body that aren't healthy. We do it with our food all the time. I drink energy drinks. Some people put too much sugar in their coffee. We all do that. You have that right. And I don't really care. I think that potentially nicotine might turn out to be something that's good, and it will maybe have some medicinal uses. But it's just, do you see how this works? Like he loves nicotine, so he goes out and he advocates for it. He hates vaccines, so he goes out and he campaigns against it. But he has the same amount of evidence for both of them. Conclusively, he has nothing. He has nothing conclusive on nicotine. He has nothing conclusive on vaccines. It's really just like, do I like it? Yes. Do I not like it? No. And that's how he's making decisions. What's up, Jen?
Yo.
Hey.
Are you caught up in reading all the
I think, let's see. I think so. Oh, Amy said if Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize, he could possibly for the COVID vaccine. That's true.
Catch your Cash App and PayPal also.
I'm looking right now. Caitlin said that was yesterday. Kristen said Trump should fire his doctor and only listen to RFK. Swish said daily reminder that Trump is a big dumb bitch. And Katrina says thanks for all you do, sexy beast. Thank you, Katrina.
All right. I just want to remind everybody that we do this show each day, Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. That top left-hand corner that Jay's about ready to update the gift goal total with is our remaining balance for our gift goal. So if you guys could help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking down the remaining balance. If we can hit that sooner rather than later, I don't have to bug you guys as much. But, I mean, I've come up with some pretty fun gift reminders, but if you guys want to just knock it out sooner, I wouldn't complain. That'd be okay with me. You guys like to keep things exciting. If you guys haven't subscribed to us yet, please do that. You can subscribe wherever you're watching. If you're watching on Twitch, you can use your Amazon Prime sub. If you've used it before, you have to manually update it, renew it. It doesn't automatically do it. And then on YouTube, we have 4 different memberships. We do members-only events, paid events. So if you guys do a paid membership, you can be part of those events with us as well. If you guys disagree with RTP, you can come up and talk to them. How you do that is if you look at the Venmo, that is my Discord handle, Jen with 2 N's, Dub with 2 B's, the number 1. You can DM me on Discord and I can bring you up to talk to RTP in real time, only for opposition. Check out our link tree in our bio. We're on most social media platforms. We've got merch. Jay's on Cameo, and we upload all these episodes to Spotify if you'd like to watch and listen to them that way. And we're trying to get to a partner status on Spotify, and I pointed up the number, and I need to do this part of my, like, every day I come in and I have certain things on certain screens, and I need to put this on one of my screens each morning. So we have to have 2,000 people stream. So if you haven't gone and watched one of our Spotify episodes, please go do that for us. We're currently at 211. We need 2,000. And we need 10,000 consumption hours, and we're currently sitting at about 2,300 consumption hours. So if you guys could go check out our Spotify episode, let it run in the background, that would be awesome. We'd appreciate it. What else? So Albert Einstein was a great man, but his brother Frank was an absolute monster.
Go get out of here. All right. Here's an actual pulmonologist. Now, MAGA, you can check out because this is an actual doctor, and I know you only get your medical advice from fucking quacks. But this is Dr. Vin Gupta on Midas Touch. Dr. Vin Gupta is a pulmonologist. So, yeah, just like diagnosing and treating diseases in the respiratory system, just like the expert in treating COVID. So don't listen to him, MAGA. Make sure you listen to the brainworm heroin guy. But here's what he has to say. And I just got to say, I think I was early on this. I think this is one more prediction I got right on Donald Trump and RFK and this administration. And I don't want to toot my own horn because it really is that easy. They are that transparent. All this 4D chess that they love to talk about, it's never 4D chess. It's all out in the open. You don't have to think that hard about it. Everything they do is transparent. And here's Dr. Van Gupta explaining what the repercussions of this for people like him, actual doctors. What are the repercussions now for the changes at the CDC and the FDA regarding the COVID vaccine?
Is that RFK basically made good on what he was signaling for a very long time, which is he is taking away ready access to vaccinations that we know have a tremendous benefit versus risk profile. These are beneficial vaccines for anybody that wants them, certainly for those that are medically higher risk. The risk profile we've discussed ad nauseum for the last 5.5 years is minimal and well studied. But he's making good on this. And so today what happened is he basically said he's only limiting for adults. Those vaccines, COVID vaccine boosters, will be available to those 65 years of age and older, basically saying anybody that's, in his view, otherwise healthy and younger, he's not gonna allow for it. And so why does that matter? First of all, there's a lot more people that then still end up in the hospital with COVID-19 many years into, post-pandemic, then I think we want to talk about and acknowledge more broadly. He doesn't want to really talk about the burden, but we're talking about thousands of people. This is not something that's limited to those that are medically higher risk. Thousands of people still end up in the hospital, some in the ICU. It's very unpredictable. I see it directly firsthand. So he's minimizing the dangers of the virus still, even though those dangers are not what they were 5 years ago. We all acknowledge that. Number two, there's a lot of reasons why people want to get these vaccines that are now no longer able to get them as easily. They live in a multi-generational household with mom or dad that might be older, that they might have somebody that has an underlying condition.
I said, if the vaccine worked so well, why did you need 10 boosters? Because it mutates. You can Google this shit, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know why all MAGA Republicans think they're so fucking smart for asking questions without answers. Why are you asking a question to me? Go to fucking Google, dude. Go Google it. Why are there multiple boosters? Because the virus mutates. Also, why are there so many boosters? Because we got a bunch of dipshits in this country who keep getting COVID and keep it spreading, and it keeps mutating. You know what would stop it from mutating? If we had herd immunity. How do we get herd immunity? Everybody has to have protections in their body, either via the COVID or via natural immunity that you got after having COVID. And guess what? Both natural immunity and booster immunity and vaccine immunity fade. And they fade, and because COVID is still in existence, you have to get another fucking booster because it fades and it mutates, and now you're not as protected. That's why. But these are basic things that you could Google. I don't know why your entire ideology is gotcha questions. Google the fucking answer. Why are you guys so goddamn lazy? Google it. Research it. You all think asking a question is like a good, like, gotcha. No, do you know? Why are there 10 boosters? Because it's fake. That's your conclusion. I've never met so many people who are so lazy and so intellectually incurious. You act like these questions are unknowable. They are not. It is not hard to research. I do it every day. If I don't know the answer to the question, I use the internet and I figure out the answer to the question. And you just read a little bit. Learn a little bit, and maybe rely on some experts instead of some quack. Maybe don't get all of your medical information from the Joe Rogan podcast. And you know why you get it that way? Because you're fucking lazy. Because you don't want to have to figure this stuff out for yourself. And by the way, you don't even have to. If you decide I want to be lazy in this world, which is fine. Most of us are, we can't understand everything, right? So statistically, the best thing you could do, if you're not going to figure it out yourself, is listen to people who are actual experts and get consensus. And the scientific consensus on the COVID vaccine is that it's safe, that it's effective, that you're safer if you take it than if you don't, that you are more likely to get sick, You're more likely to get hospitalized. You're more likely to die if you don't have it. That doesn't mean you're going to die. These are just statistics. So if you don't want to be vaccinated, that's fine. But don't also be the person that's like, I'm not vaccinated because of my gut, and I'm going to convince you guys. Why are you even trying to convince other people not to be vaccinated? What good could that possibly do? You could make a real good argument with this administration right now that they recognize and remember our guest yesterday, and look at all the things that Republicans are saying right now and where they're making cuts. I'm not pitching this, but you can make a really solid argument right now that what Republicans want more than anything is for people to leave the country or die. They're too afraid to raise taxes. They're too afraid to legislate. And we have a whole lot of obligations. But if a lot of people die, we don't have those obligations anymore, especially if it's people that we don't really have to account for in these programs. What if a bunch of old people die? Not a bad deal for Republicans. That's your best. The only chance you guys have with your economic plan, the only chance you have for this working is if a whole lot of people die. That's it. That's your only shot. We're still going to have debt, but maybe we'll have a little bit less debt. Maybe we'll start operating in some surpluses. But it seems to me that every policy this administration has trotted out, the effect is either people are going to leave, be jailed, or die. That seems to be what you guys want to do with everybody. What are we doing in D.C.? Trying to jail people. What's ICE doing? They're trying to jail people. What's the CDC? What's HHS doing? They're removing protections. We got fucking measles in Texas. We got the plague in Washington. Not going to do anything about guns. Maybe if just people died, we wouldn't be in such a hole. Again, I'm not making that accusation, but if somebody wanted to make that accusation, they'd have a compelling argument.
They may be worried about long COVID, which we know the vaccines protect against to some degree. At least that's what emerging evidence shows. So there's a lot of reasons why these vaccines, for no good reason, there's a lot of reasons why these vaccines should be accessible to everybody that wants them. And for no good reason, he's deciding against that. Here's why this matters to all our listeners. Because the FDA indications have changed. Number one, if a physician or any medical provider were to say, you know what, I'm still going to give it to you, or recommend that you get this. And
by the way, Vin Gupta does not work for CNN. I don't understand you Republicans. Like you'll do anything to discredit a doctor. You'll do anything to continue listening to a quack. Like he works for CNN, so I'm not going to listen to him. I'm going to listen to RFK. He doesn't work for CNN. That's a lie.
They prescribe it. If I were to say prescribe it to you, Ben, I'm opening myself up to a lawsuit. And he directly signaled that providers that go against FDA indications for any vaccine, now that he's changing them, are going to open themselves up to potential litigation. It's a shocking abuse of power. That's one. Number two, most people...
Man, it seems like we said that. But this is just going to open up a whole bunch of litigation. And it's going to force doctors to stop giving out vaccinations. And what's that going to do for the litigation? It's going to strengthen the argument. They are going to force doctors to make a choice between their practice and litigation. And yet, although virtually every doctor in the world agrees that you should be vaccinated, when it comes down to their livelihood versus recommending this vaccine, there's going to be a lot of people that choose money. And that adds credibility to this argument and to these lawsuits. Damn. Seems like we were right all along.
People get their vaccines, Ben, across the country at a retail pharmacy. While I, as an MD, can still contravene what the HHS secretary says and prescribe things off label, pharmacists cannot. And so a pharmacist no longer is able to actually prescribe and administer a COVID-19 booster for somebody that doesn't meet strict indications. They do not have the leeway that I do as a physician, which means access today is severely constrained.
Oh, they're thinking of Sanjay Gupta? Yeah, that might be right. That's probably what they're doing.
And he has a lot of power through his pen.
Yeah. Sounds like we were right again. Again, it's not that hard. It's just this is the most transparent. Like sometimes they're transparent in some ways. They're not transparent in that they tell you the truth. They're transparent in that their plans are so obvious that it's easy to see what they're actually doing. All right, let's move on. I don't know if you guys. I've never covered this story because I think Candace Owens is a quack. I don't think I did. I do have a friend who's been texting me about this, but Candace Owens has been on this like. I don't even know why she's doing it, but she's been on this kick where she's been going after Emmanuel Macron and his wife. Now, there's a big age difference between Emmanuel Macron and his wife, but she has been saying that Emmanuel Macron's wife is trans, and I think I might be wrong about this. I also think she said that was maybe his dad. They had like transitioned. So she's been doing this for a while. People have been calling it crazy. And there was an episode not that long ago where she basically told Macron, she's like, sue me, bitch. Sue me. Then we open up Discovery. I don't think she thought that Macron was going to call her bluff. And Macron called her bluff. And Macron said, you got it. Here comes the lawsuit. And now we may lose Candace Owens. We may bankrupt Candace Owens.
Right-wing podcaster Candace Owens, and I want to talk about it. So Candace Owens, obviously very popular on YouTube. She's got all these conspiracy theories. Last month, she got sued by the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, and his wife, Brigitte Macron, over her conspiracy theories that Brigitte is trans. And not just that, but she's claimed that they're involved in all of these crimes, maybe a cult going back hundreds of years. Well, now I check back in.
Let me get a couple of these real quick. Disease and obesity higher in red states, infant mortality higher, mortality younger. Yeah, the dumbest states, the least vaccinated states, the people that listen to the experts the least, they're also dying the most. And Amy Lynn said, if it didn't work, then why higher deaths in areas without vax? Good question. Trump's doctor lost his medical license for freely giving out addictive drugs. I don't know if he lost his medical license. He lost his position in the military as a medical doctor, I think. I don't know if that's true or not, Amy.
How she's responding to this, and things are looking a little rough for Candace Owens. Number one, she's claimed that it's going to cost millions of dollars to defend this lawsuit. And I believe it. I mean, the Macrons have hired a really heavyweight libel firm. So she's looking at some real long odds in this case. She claims she doesn't have the money at all. She says, I need money from my fans. Now, how's she going to get that money? I don't know if it's going to be...
Isn't Candace Owens' husband like filthy rich? Doesn't he come from like a wealthy family? George Farmer, British American. He's former chairman of Turning Point UK, Parliament. He's the son of Michael Farmer. Don't they have a bunch of money? I guess maybe CEO of Parler. They might be hurting too.
Bringing in all that much. She's selling a $30 shirt with a matching hat that says "Free Emmanuel," the idea that he's kind of enslaved by his wife, who's again part of maybe a CIA mind control experiment. So look, if you believe that, you could buy a $30 shirt, contribute to maybe one fraction of a minute of her lawyer's time. But she has maybe a more compelling idea, which is that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance should just save her. Now look, Donald Trump has been doing a lot of pardons, but so far we haven't seen the president.
Well, she's been kind of mean to the Trump administration. She's been accusing them of participating in a genocide, so might have a hard time getting an ear there.
Just say, I quash this civil lawsuit, or, I like this person, so you can't sue them. But that's kind of her idea. She put out a video saying that Emmanuel Macron is a foreign invader. And of course, as we all know, one of the president's jobs is defending the country from foreign invasion. So she says he needs to kind of, get the military to stop Emmanuel Macron, something like that. The odds are not looking so good for Candace. She's facing a lot of difficulty, and the case here is really just getting started. So I think this is going to be one to watch for sure. Potentially millions of dollars in damages and legal bills on the line for Candace Owens. Sort of the future of her media empire possibly at stake. Well, this has been Will Summer at The Bulwark. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll be watching this.
I think there's a lot of people that should sue. I wish Kamala Harris was a little more litigious, because she did the same shit with Kamala Harris. And maybe she will. Maybe now she'll decide to be litigious. She seems to not be as litigious as she could be. I'd love to see Candace Owens go away. She's a complete and total grifter. Like when you wind up a person like Candace Owens who consistently rides the waves of conspiracy, I do think you deserve to be sued. Same with Alex Jones. If you're going to go out there and you're going to say outrageous things, and you have a massive audience, that audience turns angry. That audience, they do things. It causes real world pain, and you should be sued into oblivion. Candace Owens should not have a microphone. There used to be some like journalistic integrity, none from Candace Owens. Like, she'll run with a lie until her audience stops caring about it. But this is one that her audience cares about, because as you'll see, like some of her audiences here today, they're like, she's hot. Yeah, we know that's what you think. She's hot and she hates trans people, and that's all it takes for you guys. Just if you think they're attractive, just hating trans people usually is enough. But like also hot, that's enough for you. Like, what kind of dipshit pea brain turns on Candace Owens is like, this is hard hitting stuff. She's so transparently dishonest, and she's so transparently like a grifter. Like, she just follows. She'll find any online rumor, and then she'll kind of test it out on her show. And if it gets a good response from the incel angry crowd, she's like, hell yeah, let's go. That's why she gets paid. That's why she's popular. You look at her audience too. Like, it's a lot of just like dudes. It's a lot of uneducated dudes that make up her audience. We didn't cover this much yesterday, and I'm not going to cover a ton about the shooting that took place yesterday. But I do want to just point something out. A lot of people accuse everybody of politicizing these events, and they do. And it's politicized on the right, and it's politicized on the left. But what I'm going to criticize right now, specifically with Scott Jennings, and then with whatever her name is, Duffy, over on Fox News, is that they take a tragedy like this, and then they center themselves and turn themselves into the victim. I understand that if you want to have a discussion on when there's a mass shooting, I understand on that day wanting to have a discussion about what we should do about, one, mental health, and two, about gun violence. I think those are appropriate times to have this discussion. And I think that you can have those discussions openly and honestly. And I think that there's room for everybody to share that opinion. I don't think that's a bad time. I don't think that's politicizing the event. I think using that moment and using that emotion to say, let's have a discussion about how we move forward is a good thing. I think that I'm not a person who says you shouldn't have that discussion. I don't think you should have that discussion in an echo chamber. But what I really fucking hate is people who there's 20 dead children. Certainly nothing is worse than that. Certainly nothing you're dealing with yesterday is worse than that. So if you're going to take this tragedy and you're going to use it as a way to make yourself and your friends a victim, you can get all the way fucked. Now, I didn't know Scott Jennings had a radio show. Apparently he does it from a helicopter. I don't know why he has this outrageous headset on. Like, Mike, dude, you could just get a microphone. You don't have to look like an idiot. But Scott Jennings ran to the airwaves, not to talk about the children, not to talk about violence, but to talk about how Scott, and his friends are the actual victims.
Minneapolis is Jacob Fry. He's running for re-election. He ran down to the church today and promptly, surprisingly, shockingly attacked people for praying. I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but let's listen to the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Fry, decrying those who would call for prayer.
All right. One, liar. If you are a person who thinks what Jacob Fry did yesterday was attack Christians, you are the softest type of bitch. There's bitches, and then there's this. This is the softest baby bitch shit I've ever seen. On a day when children are dead, parents are mourning the loss of their children, this is what Scott Jennings wanted to talk about. He wanted to turn himself into a victim. And by the way, you're not going to be shocked when Scott Fry didn't say that. He said he ran to a microphone to mock Christians.
In a tragic moment like this.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance.
I really don't know what to say to Mayor Fry.
Yeah, because you're a bitch.
People of faith turn to prayer in times of tragedy.
Yep, nobody said you couldn't. Nobody told you not to pray, Scott. He said, don't just pray. Don't just give thoughts and prayers. Don't just do that. I'm sorry. Faith without works is dead. Is that in your religion? Is that, I'm sorry. Did you grow up with a different Bible than me? Did you grow up with a Bible that says pray and then don't do a goddamn thing? Pray and then don't help anybody. Pray and then sit on your thumb. No. Faith without works is dead. He said, don't just pray. Don't just send thoughts. That doesn't help. Just praying and just sending thoughts doesn't help. And it turned into the biggest cry fest, baby back bitchery all across the country. JD Vance, this is what we do. We pray. Yeah, and they're saying, can you do something else too? I'm sorry, like your prayers didn't help these kids. They may help you. You may feel like the power of prayer does something. Great, do it. But can you do something else too? Because when the mayor says don't just give thoughts and prayers, he's talking to the people in government. And what did JD Vance do? Thoughts and prayers. What did Republicans do? Thoughts and prayers. Oh, they also attacked trans people. That's all he said. And you guys turned it into a victim. Being MAGA is just waking up every day and crying about shit that doesn't affect you. That's what being MAGA is, making yourself a victim. We had a 3-hour debate yesterday talking to me, a white dude from privilege, with another white dude from privilege, and it took 3 hours to say, like, hey, dude, some people have it worse off than you. That's it. If you took what happened yesterday and you thought, this is an attack on me because the mayor said that you shouldn't pray, one, you can't listen. And two, I just think this is programmed into you. Everybody knows what's going to happen on a mass shooting day. It's the reason I don't cover it. Everybody knows what will happen. The shooting happens, and everybody's quiet. You get thoughts and prayers, but not much else. And everybody's just waiting to see the identity of the shooter. And once we knew that shooter was trans, oh my God, it's like you guys got your dicks got hard. There's dead children. There's dead children. You want to make this about trans people? Let me just give you the flaw in this logic. If you think that this shooting occurred because the person is trans, and then therefore you can apply that to all trans people, then you also have to apply it to white Christian men. And if you're saying now, like I even saw Matt Walsh today, you have Republicans, ironically today, who are like, we should never restrict guns. Now you have multiple prominent Republicans saying we should restrict guns for trans people. So now ideology, identity, that's how you get to decide who gets guns. Keep telling us it's not supremacy. Keep telling us it's not Christian nationalism. Please, keep telling us that. But every time there's one of these shootings, and I know that this isn't just the right. This happens on the left too. They go, oh, look, another white guy. And it's true. And that's a response to every time something happens in other situations, everybody goes, oh, they want to blame somebody. They want to blame a demographic of people. And what we never do is we never address the reality. And the reality, based on what I'm reading from this manifesto, is this was a troubled person. This is a person, but if you are a trans person on the internet, which they were, you are bullied relentlessly. So we have a person who is obviously has some mental health issues. The bullying didn't help. The lack of care and access to mental health services, that didn't help. Somehow this person was able to post for days before that they were planning to shoot up a church. And I guess our FBI was too busy picking up trash in Washington, D.C. to catch any of this shit. I guess they're too busy to do their job. I guess nobody could report this. Nobody. Why are we not in those Reddit channels? This guy's doing this publicly. Why are we not in those channels? There are a million different things we could talk about on how this happened, but the reality is an individual person with mental health problems had easy access to a weapon that could kill a lot of people. They also got into a school too easily. And I just don't understand why this has to divide us every single time. We should have background checks for weapons. It appears now that Republicans agree with that, only because it's a trans person, but yet maybe we can roll with that. It's clear that we have a mental health crisis in this country. I saw somebody the other day, like the Republicans trot out there and they go, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Okay, so don't give guns to people who shouldn't have guns. How's that the solution? We can't take away guns. Why? Well, because they're not doing the crime, it's the people. So why are we giving the people the guns then? Why are we not a little more careful about that? It honestly blows my fucking mind. As somebody who I am a gun owner, I've used a gun for self-defense in my own home. I would not feel safe in my home, given what's happened to me without a gun, given the threats that I get. Like I do feel safer with that. But if when I went and got that, they did a quick background check. But if they did an extensive background check, I would not have given a fuck. I'm not willing to be like inconvenienced for a little bit to make sure that like my daughter's at school. I'm not a Christian. My daughter went to a Christian preschool. My daughter's at school right now. Your kids are at school right now. What are we doing to stop this? We're on the radio saying, this is an attack on prayer. They used this moment to attack Christians. No, they didn't. They said, can you please do something more than thoughts and prayers? I'm a fucking parent. I'm a gun owner. I live in a state with a lot of guns. And people have access to a lot of crazy media. And there's a lot, you see it, we have to ban people in this chat every day. Every single day, somebody in this chat says something so crazy and violent that they have to get banned every fucking day. And we won't talk about that. We'll talk about anything but that. We want to point the blame. Who's to blame for killing those children? That kid. That's who's to blame for killing the children. What led to that? And this is the part where we always lose everybody. What led to that is important, and it's not an attack on you. If you didn't personally bully this person, if you didn't personally see their messages, if you don't know how they obtained a weapon, it's not an attack on you. And if you're a gun owner and you love guns, if you're a Second Amendment advocate, this is not an attack on you. Again, like this idea of freedom, like the whole reason that you have freedom and the whole point of the Constitution is so that you can live free. Those kids aren't living free anymore. And this is very similar to the healthcare argument, and this is just it is a poisoned intellectual capacity of this country. We are completely poisoned. We're the only country where this happens. This doesn't happen anywhere else. There are poor countries, there are rich countries, there are ethnically diverse countries. It doesn't happen anywhere else. And what is the one difference? Do they have mental health problems? Yes. Do they have racism? Yes. Do they have trans people? Yes. Do they have Christians? Yes. Do they have atheists? Yes. Do they have Muslims? Yes. Do they have a free press? Yes. They have all of the same things that we do. Fundamentally, everything about those countries is the same, except access to a firearm. That's the only difference. But because in America, we have turned gun ownership into a motherfucking religion. We have millions of Americans like, you know what? I know kids died. That's all right. It just happens. It's part of life. It's legitimately become part of life that kids die when they go to school. And we all send our kids off to school the next day. If you're a parent, you know what I'm feeling right now. And I'm begging the gun owner parents, I'm begging you. If you think your school needs metal detectors and armed guards, fine, do it. But also, can we recognize that some people shouldn't have weapons? And if it takes you an extra 3 days to obtain a weapon to go hog hunting, but kids will live, why not? You can't be inconvenienced for an extra couple of days. This idea like, well, maybe some people will unfairly not be able to get a weapon. I'm okay with that trade-off. Why are you not okay with that trade-off? Why are you not okay with the idea that maybe like somebody who has a history of mental health problems, or they've threatened somebody, they can't get a weapon, and that's more important than like keeping kids alive? I don't understand who we've become. I don't understand how you guys have become. I don't understand this guy. Bro, like, if you're going to talk to me about Jesus, you're going to talk to me about what the teachings of Christ. Suffer the little children to come unto me. Like, are children not the most innocent things in the world? Honestly, it is. Jesus is very upset at these people who said not to pray. I doubt it. You think if God is real, that what God's focused on that morning is the people that are saying like, don't just pray? You think that God's like, what the fuck? Hold up. They're saying that they should do stuff besides pray? All right, Christians, get out there, put on your helicopter headset, and go tell the world how big of a victim you are, Scott Jennings. I understand this happens. I understand that there's people that have politicized this on the left, and I get that, and I get that it happens on the right. It's sick in both ways. I get it, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to take a side here between me and Scott Jennings. You don't have to say like, oh well, this person on the right says this, and I agree more with this person on the right, so I'm okay with it. Scott Jennings should be punched in the face by every single person who has a kid, metaphorically. This is infuriating. The mayor lost people in his city. He has parents. I saw video of parents sprinting towards the school, not knowing if their kid is alive or dead. They're sprinting. And I got Scott Jennings on here. Now, what we really got to talk about is the anti-Christian rhetoric here, where they said, don't just pray. You went out of your way, Scott Jennings and J.D. Vance and every other bitch who went after the mayor yesterday. If you went after the mayor today, literally, go fuck yourselves. You are bitches. You are the most thin-skinned. Like, you wake up every day looking for a way to be the victim. Every fucking day. Oh, look. Oh, dead kids. Oh, but the mayor said, yay, I get to be a victim today. And you go on there and you're a victim. You're not a victim. I'm sick of bitches like this. This is why mainstream media is dead. This is why nobody believes mainstream media. This is why nobody gives a fuck about mainstream media. We just want our kids to be alive, man. Can you talk about that?
And to decry their prayers, to belittle their faith, to angrily attack those whose faith fortifies them in their own lives, especially.
Is that what happened, Scott? Let's watch it again.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers right now. These kids were literally praying. It was the first
One
we
more
were
time.
literally praying.
Moment like this.
And don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers.
Don't just say this is about thoughts and prayers. Yeah, he's a victim. He is. Scott Jennings has always been a bitch. Scott Jennings is a bitch. Scott Jennings doesn't stand on anything. Scott Jennings flip-flops every fucking day. He just, oh, where's the political wind going? And he flip-flops. Like, don't sit here and defend Scott Jennings right now. If you're upset with me right now, there's a good chance that you yourself are a bitch, and you're thinking about all the things that you said yesterday and today, where you went online and you made a national tragedy and parents losing their kids. You made it about you yesterday. If you're upset with me, that's why. This isn't about me either. There's real victims here. And it's the families of those kids. And it's the parents who didn't lose their kid. It's the parent that had to run into that fucking school hoping that it wasn't their kid. And it's those kids who will live with that every day for the rest of their lives. Every single night that I go to bed, when I hear a sound outside, I stand up and I look out the window because somebody tried to break into my house and I held them at gunpoint. I think about that every single night. And that's fine. Like it's reality that I have to deal with. It's fine. Like I don't think that there was anything that the law could have done to change. There's nothing anybody could have done to change that happened to me. But there are things we could do for these kids, and these things will affect them. They're kids. They don't know how to process it right now. And if they don't get access to mental health, this could ruin their lives. The teachers will deal with this the rest of their lives. There are real victims here. But it's not Scott Jennings. It's not J.D. Vance. It's not you, a Christian. None of you are the victims. This why I said it yesterday, but like, what are we supposed to be proud about in America right now? What is there to be proud about? We've got our own military turning on our people. We don't do a goddamn thing when schools are being shot up. Not a goddamn thing. We got a quack running, like now we got a quack out there just being like, oh, don't be vaccinated. The plague's coming back. Measles is coming back. You tell me what I'm supposed to be proud about with America right now. Tell me. I'm not proud of the way that we're handling the Ukraine situation. I'm not proud of the way that we're just allowing a genocide, facilitating a genocide in Palestine. I'm not proud of the fact that, like, what are we doing for Sudan? Are we even talking about it? We're locking up immigrants in cages. Court order after court order after court order. What the fuck am I supposed to be proud about as an American today? If it's not cruelty, what's left? Because it seems like the MAGA folks, all you guys are ever proud about is cruelty. This entire administration is cruelty. Oh, yeah, I voted for this. I voted for locking up immigrants. Okay, fine. It's still cruel. If you're cool with it, you're cool with it. Oh, yeah, I love this anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. What are you proud of? What makes you proud to be an American today? Go watch the news from around the world to see how they're talking about us. They talk about us as like heartless heathens. That like we turn a blind eye to murder. Yeah, we don't want to fix it. Everybody else has figured it out. Alvin, I did talk about the shooter. The shooter is the person who is responsible for killing those children. What you want me to do is you want me to talk about the fact that the shooter was trans. That's what you want to do. Because then it vindicates your bigotry. When you say, let's talk about the elephant in the room, let's talk about the shooter, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You can't wait to not talk about dead children. You can't wait to talk about a trans person. And it's every fucking day with you hateful bitches. Every fucking day. You don't want to talk about dead kids. You want to talk about a trans person. Because that's all you talk about every day. You go on the internet, trans. And so this is vindicating for you. You felt vindicated yesterday. How fucked up is that for you? That 20 kids died and you're like, vindicated, called it, told you guys. I told you guys to watch out for the trans people. Vindicated? Kids are dead and you're vindicated. What are you going to do? What's your solution then? What's your solution? We just throw all trans people in jail? Oh, we want to do more cruelty, right? Treat trans people less humane? Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, there's no history of making people feel inhuman or less than human. There's no history of those people turning violent, right? No, that never happens. What are the consequences for telling people that they can't be who they are? Telling them that they're subhuman? History is full. That always works. That always works out well. Dude, go fuck yourself. I don't know. Why are you so obsessed with trans people? When you say elephant in the room, you're doing exactly what I just accused Scott of doing. You want to make this about you. You want to make this about your belief on trans people. And again, there's dead kids. Sick. All right, I'm going to move on. Let me do one more thing and give Fox one more time, and then I'm going to leave this.
And that is about the last big school shooting we remember. I mean, there's been others. The last one with a lot of attention was at a Christian school. This is a Catholic school. What happened this summer in Syria in the middle of Mass, in June? in a Greek Orthodox church, right in the middle of Mass, children there, 22 children killed, 62 wounded. And so, yes, we need to think about these things happening here. Christians are the most persecuted religion in the universe right now, in the world. So that's definitely a potential motive. But
Yeah, center yourself some more, Christians. Like, if we really want to have this discussion, I think it's a real discussion. Is there a reason that these churches are being targeted? And I want to be really careful about this because, like, I don't want to victim blame. And I don't. And I think that everybody who has died at these churches, these are all children. Okay? So before we get accused of victim blaming here, none of these children had anything to do with any of this. However, some of you take somebody like this shooter who has mental health problems, and you're online every day telling that person that they are evil, that they are demonic, and that they are less than, and you tell them to turn to Christ. Maybe a little bit more compassion would go a long ways. Again, if we're going to self-reflect, which it doesn't seem like any of the conservatives want to do right now. It seems like conservatives just want to play victim. When I got broken into, I did some self-reflection. I also had my car broken into. I did some self-reflection. Was it my fault that they came and broke into my car? No. What can I do in the future to prevent these things? What types of actions potentially in our country have led this person to feel like their attack should be Christians? Is there anything we could do better? Right? That is how human beings operate. Should operate like adult human beings. Could we do better? Could we do better? Like, do we really need every single day? Do you guys really need to target trans people? Less than 1% of our population. Why was it okay when MAGA was told over and over again that you guys were crazy for believing the election was stolen? You go and attack the Capitol. No self-reflection from you guys. Why did people attack the Capitol? Well, one, a lot of them have mental health issues. We've learned that. Many of them have reoffended. Many of them go back to jail. But two, they got lied to. And they told people they told you that we were evil. That type of rhetoric matters. And especially when you're targeting an indefensible group of people. If you're a trans person, and some of my friends that are trans, like, they feel this. Now, their mental health's fine. They're not going to go out there and they're not going to go attack somebody. Chances are they'll wind up hurting themselves, and then you guys will be like, see? Are there any of you that think, like, maybe, just maybe, we don't have to stoke the fire all the time? Maybe the next time I see a story about a school turning kids trans, maybe I do some research before I freak the fuck out, before I repost it on Facebook. Maybe I don't say that Democrats just want to, like, cut off your kids' genitals all the time. Maybe we do that. Maybe we don't be Matt Walsh. Maybe we don't do documentaries saying that we should institutionalize trans people. Again, like, on these days when there is a tragedy, it is remarkable how many people don't self-reflect, especially politically. It is always point the finger. And again, this isn't one-sided. It's definitely not one-sided. I think you could point to me and you could say that some of my rhetoric is inflammatory. And if you don't think I self-reflect on that, like, that's crazy. I do. And I'll always need to get better. There's 0 people here. There's 1,000 people here. There's 0 people who can't do better. Every single person here can do better. But if we can't agree that, like, saving kids should be like our number one focus. That we should do everything within our power to make sure kids aren't safe, even if that means that some of us have to wait a little longer to get a weapon to go hunt hogs. Like, I think we're in trouble, and that's what the rest of the world is saying. The rest of the world is just saying, like, how the fuck can America not figure this out? We've all figured this out. We've all figured out that, like, there's mental health problems in this world, and they're gonna get worse. Like, we have the internet. It's easy to bully people. You've never been more likely to be bullied than now. You've never been more likely to be targeted than now. One wrong comment on a Facebook post, one bad moment in public, and the whole world knows who you are, and and you are that person. You are that moment. You are that comment that becomes your entire persona to people in the world. It's never been easier. So this isn't going to get better. But ironic, like, can we Republicans and Democrats, at the very least, can we do something about mental health? Can we give everybody in this country access to mental health, please? Is that really a bridge too far? We can't afford it. Well, could we maybe stop killing some people? Could we maybe take the size of the military and make it a little bit smaller? Could we do that? Maybe we provide more funding for schools. Maybe we provide more security for schools. Could we do that? Or do we need to, we just cut the Department of Education budget? I live in Arizona. Do we not just cut our education budget here? All around the world, all around this country, we're cutting education. We're cutting protection for children. Why? So we can spend on the military, so we can send in the National Guard to do police work, so we can give tax cuts to billionaires. The whole world is mocking us. Because on a day when we had a tragedy that would rock every other country and bring them to their knees, we just moved on 10 minutes later, because it always happens. We just moved on and said, it's fine. We're not going to do anything to fix this shit. Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. We're just going to move on with our lives, except for those that want to get clicks and politicize it. Those people stuck around.
And that is about the last big school shooting we remember. I mean, there's been others.
Jose, let me ask you a question. Jose, in the YouTube chat, let me ask you a question. Would you give up 10% of the military budget to make kids safer in schools? 10%. If 10% of the military budget meant that every school had what are those? Like the locking doors, fencing, and armed guard outside. Would you trade that for 10% of the military budget? Because you said that is literally the dumbest thing I could say. You wouldn't give up 10% of the military budget to keep your kids safe? Yeah. No, got it.
The last one with a lot of attention was that.
Look at these people. No, they're all saying no. Where's Drew? Hey, Drew, these are your people. These are your people. It is Jesus fucking Christ. There are a lot of you saying no. I thought that would be unanimous the other way. Good Lord. And Jess, like, I'm on your side too. Our schools will look like prisons. Okay, I get it. I would rather have my kid's school look like a prison than have my kid dead. Like, I went to help at my kid's school the other day. It is really hard to get in my school or into that school. There's a buzzer. There's these big locking doors. There is an armed guard, but they stay away. I would trade that. I agree with you. It's bad. I don't like the idea that my kid will feel like they have to go through a metal detector, that they're like, same way I feel about going to the airport. I don't like that. But would I trade it? Yes. Like, we've got to be able to give and take on both sides. There's not a scenario where we're going to say, like, one side is going to win or the other side is going to, like, we're going to have to give and take here. That's reality. Nobody's going to get, the right's not giving up their guns. They're not going to do it. And so we can keep saying, like, we got to give up the guns, or we can try and figure out, like, some sort of solution in the middle. This is one of those things. This is one of the hard parts about being in a democracy. Is that we all have to give and take, and then we all fight for what we want, and then you can fight to push it your way or my way or their way, whatever. But it is alarming. Saying that you wouldn't give up 10% of the military budget if it kept all of our kids safe is probably the most alarming thing I've ever seen in this chat. The amount of people that said no to that That's alarming. I hope that you guys are trolls. I really do. I hope that this is not indicative of like regular Americans. I am choosing right now to believe that this is not indicative of most Americans, because that's pretty fucking sick.
At a Christian school. This is a Catholic school. What happened this summer in Syria in the middle of Mass, June, at a Greek Orthodox church, right in the middle of Mass, children there, 22 children killed, 62 wounded. And so, yes, we need to think about these things happening here. Christians are the most persecuted religion in the
But why?
universe.
Why that? Why are we doing this, Fox News right wingers? Why are you guys turning this into a Christian persecution thing? It's the victim complex, and I do think that is largely due. Like, that change has a lot to do with Donald Trump, but it also has a lot to do with like ideology. People who are ideologically driven will turn themselves into victims before they will admit that they've done something wrong. I grew up Mormon. Like, the amount of damage the Mormon Church has done to children, to adults, like the amount of damage that they have done in their history is quite alarming. Like, just the sexual abuse alone that they have covered up. The Mormon Church should not exist. It should not be functional because of the same with the Catholic Church. If those were not churches, those organizations would not exist anymore. But they get like this special protection because people believe in it. I don't understand why why they want to be victims, but I do think it's ideologically driven. People don't want to admit that they're wrong, so they'll just move the focus. Like, they don't want to talk about the dead kids, so what they're going to talk about is the anti-Christian bias or the attacks on Christianity. By the way, like this is the same thing. Like when Christians shoot up a nightclub, Fox News is like, this has nothing to do with them being, that obviously wasn't a Christian. Christians don't do that. Yeah, trans people don't do that. But people do, right? Like, trans people in general don't do that. Christians in general don't do that. So let's stop making this about identity every single time. If we could just stop trying. Like, could we just have the victims be the victims? Let's not focus on by the way, that's the other reason I don't normally do this. I've never covered any of these shootings, and I never cover the shooter. You have to understand, like, if you looked at these forums, you go in and you look at these forums and you look at like shooters, they are celebrated. These people with mental health issues, they celebrate the shooters. They know every detail about these shooters' life. And I know that we're curious, but I honestly think it's a mistake that we name the shooters. I think it's a mistake that we identify the shooters. You see what happens. If you didn't know the identity of this shooter, if you didn't see the manifesto of this shooter, it's likely that we'd be talking about the children. It's likely that we'd be talking about school safety and mental health. But because we know the identity of the shooter, and because we know what the shooter said was their reasoning, because of that, we don't address the real concern. I'm not a fan of releasing the names of the shooters. I don't say the names of the shooters. I try not to discuss the identity of the shooters. I don't think it benefits us. But as Americans, we think we need all the information, and we have the right to it. So it happens. I don't think we can change that. Here is one solution that is alarming. I mentioned that this shooter was making posts online and that the FBI didn't do their job. So I recognize that what this guy's about to say would be a solution to that, but this scares the fuck out of me. This is Aaron Cohen. He's a former IDF Special Forces soldier, I guess. He's on Fox News, and he's talking about a program that has been used over and over again in Israel called Gideon.
Correct. I am now about to launch Gideon, America's first ever AI threat detection platform built specifically for law enforcement. It scrapes the internet 24/7 using an Israeli-grade ontology to pull specific threat language and then routes it to local law enforcement. It's a 24/7 detective. It never sleeps, and it's going to get us in front of these attacks.
Would it have picked up on this, do you think?
100%. I wish my program would already be up. We're not launching until next week. I've got a dozen agencies on board, Trace. I just unloaded a major Northeast agency with over 2,700 sworn. This is America's early warning system.
This This is the problem with America, and this is why we wind up with things like ICE even existing. This is why we wind up with things like the Patriot Act. This type of divide, when they say like the media fuels this stuff, they do. The divide is good for their clicks, but it's also good for like capitalism, and it's also good, for authoritarians. We could address this problem. We could legislate this and attack this problem like every other country has done. But because we are so completely divided on what we want to do when it comes to like background checks for guns, gun control in general, mental health, because we can't find any agreement here, this is going to be, for a lot of people, an acceptable solution. The acceptable solution is the government will now be recording every single thing you do on the internet, everything. And they will use it like the Patriot Act. What they're going to tell you is that this is going to scrape publicly available information. They're going to tell you that. They're going to tell you that this isn't going to invade your privacy. And then we're going to, all of a sudden, a case is going to come out where they catch somebody doing something evil, and we'll find out that they were able to get not their public information, but their private information. Things that they were doing maybe not on the internet. Places that they said that they wouldn't go. They're going to record our every single move. Moving towards a police state. I think that there's a reason that we don't know what happened with the Butler shooting. We don't really investigate these things, and we don't ever make any changes. And there's people that pop up that want to make a bunch of money, and the government says, hey, this is great for us because, like, I just imagine, if you will, imagine being a conflicted Republican right now. I don't know who that would be, but let's call that conflicted Republican Mitt Romney because he's one of the few people that was conflicted sometimes. Let's say you're a conflicted Republican today, and you're like, I believe in the Second Amendment. I also don't want to see kids die. I'm tired of seeing kids die, and I think we got to do something about this. And you go into a meeting with Republicans, and they say, look, here's the solution. We're going to be able to catch them before they do the violence. And you go, oh, thank God. I don't have to go out and tell my constituents that I'm going to promote restricting their Second Amendment access. And Second Amendment people who love freedom are going to say, I'll take this over losing my gun. So you will trade your privacy. You will trade your autonomy for your access to a weapon, which, by the way, like, I'm looking at Chicago. Like, they say that Republicans often say, and this was my argument forever, that like having a weapon was your ability to fight back against a tyrannical government. Yeah, let's see what happens. Let's say they go into Chicago, which is unconstitutional. By definition, a tyrannical government. Let's say they go in without an emergency declaration. They just show up. That is now a tyrannical government. What do you think happens if the people in Chicago shoot? They'll be massacred. That gun, that thing you have to protect you against a tyrannical government, it will help you 0%. You will just die. That is not reality anymore. We don't live in the same world where like having a firearm would protect you against a tyrannical government. You're fucked. They don't even need soldiers. They'll just bring in a drone and they will wipe you out. So now you're saying like, I need this thing that I need to keep this right fully intact to protect myself against a tyrannical government, where you can't protect yourself against a tyrannical government. You've got no shot. And so, but because you hold that belief, you're like, you know what? I'll give away these rights. I'll give away these rights instead. I don't need privacy, all of that. And it's true. We may wind up in a country with almost no crime. But what we'll also wind up with is what Russia and Israel have, where if you are a political opponent, they will make shit up and they will kill you. This is the road to authoritarianism. This is how people die for dissenting against the government. And I do have to tell you, as somebody whose job is to dissent against the government, I'm nervous about this. I already know that they lie about people. They will lie and fire people for nothing. All it takes is one phone call from Laura Loomer saying this person tweeted that they don't like Trump, and that person gets fired. And then that person, if they fight back, they get death threats from MAGA. I'm already nervous about this. But talk about using a mass tragedy and the political divide to be an authoritarian. And that's what they do. Every authoritarian does that. They just look for opportunities to take more and more and more power. And it's wild to me for people to say, like, but your Second Amendment's more important than, like, your privacy. Amy Lynn said, in the beginning of Ukraine, the needs from the cities were taking out the tanks with drones. Dragon Wizard said, the fact that one side winning means more dead children is incredibly disheartening with where we are as a country and who we are as human beings. Tony said, we have that in our schools. In Georgia, it's state funded. Talking about the gates. Draco said, there's no greater hate than Christian love. Danielle said, dozens of Gen Z have been in two mass shootings already. Cookie said, Brett Crossan nailed it. Pew-pews don't kill people, but flags make you gay. Yeah, that's crazy. Did Brett say that? I love Brett. I meant to reach out to him yesterday. We do have background checks. You can't get a gun easily. This is a falsehood that is constantly pushed back, and background checks do not stop mentally ill people from getting them. Put arms guards there. Yeah, that's the problem. The background checks don't. And by the way, it is easy. I was in and out when I purchased my firearm in like an hour and a half. They did the background check. I purchased it. I had my safe. I had my ammunition. An hour and a half is what it took me when I purchased my first firearm. It was easy. I don't know what you're talking about there. But like, why not just make background checks better? Like when you say they don't stop mentally ill people from getting access to them, that's the problem. They don't stop them from getting access. So let's change it. Not just go, oh well. By the way, I'm not arguing like if you have to stop this, if we're gonna have to put armed guards, I'm fine with that too. Again, like I don't like it. I would prefer that over children dying. Cold Oxy Production said, and getting rid of pew-pews won't do anything either. All you're doing is disarming law-abiding citizens and making more soft targets for. Well, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. Like just logistically, that is absolutely fucking insane. If you were able to, I don't know if you can do it, but if you were able to get to remove all guns from Americans, it would absolutely stop mass shootings. It absolutely would. Every country who has done it, it's worked. I think what you're saying is like it's impossible to do that at this point. I think we have more guns than people. So it'd be almost, I don't know how the government would even do that. If that's what you're saying, I agree with you. But if you got rid of all of the guns, yeah, you couldn't have shootings because you don't have guns, right? People would still be violent, but like I hear people say this about the UK all the time. They're like, yeah, well, they got rid of guns and then knife violence went up. Yep. Yeah, like violence is still going to happen. If I had to pick one, I would choose knife violence. If the trade-off for gun violence going down was knife violence going up, I would make that trade right now. But yes, that's the trade we're doing. We'll trade it. So I understand if you're saying that it's not possible because there's so many, I probably agree with you. I don't even know how you would do that. But if you're saying that like logistically, if there weren't guns, it would stay the same. That's absolute nonsense. That doesn't even, it makes no sense. It's like saying like if I didn't have hands, like I could still punch you with a fist. No, it's not there. I could kick you and I could shoulder you, but if I didn't have a hand, I couldn't make a fist. I can't punch you with a fist. JD prayed to prevent him from being gay, but he also did works. He got married. That's not nice. Amy Lynn said disease and obesity already higher. Oh, I got that one. Go here. Then we're going to go to Israel. Jen, do you want to do announcements real quick? This is a good spot to break in, and then we're going to talk about Israel. It's going to be a heavy day. Michael said we need to invest more into mental health. I agree. Michael also said, why are so many of the school shooting translate? They're not. Not so many of them are. If you take it by percentage, it is. But if you look at the total number of mass unalivings, like it's very, very few of those people are trans. But I would say this, like, it makes sense to me that right now, given the climate in this country, that you're likely going to have more trans people who are upset. So if you have people who are struggling with their mental health and they're being consistently bullied, and they like anytime they turn on the president or any Republican, that person is just saying how evil they are, how their existence is evil. Yeah, like I could see how the rhetoric in this country would lead to more violence that way. Again, the onus is still on the shooter, but yeah, I mean that would make sense. Just honestly, like, what do you want me to say? I don't know what Republicans want me to say here. Do you want me to say that, like, trans people are just, like, they're more violent? Is that what you want me to say? Like we have to look at the whole picture. You can't hold that position. That is not a fair position. That is not a position that you come to logically. If we're going to be really honest about this, like, why have there been more shooters who were trans recently? Like, let's talk about the whole picture. Let's talk about everything. Do you really not think that, like, the vitriol and the way that we speak about trans people might get people upset? And when people are upset and helpless, do they do violent things? Yes. Like most people who turn to violence,
Okay,
like
I'm looking for it, but I guess Brett Cross is on CNN right now.
Oh, all right.
I'm looking for it.
I'll look for it while you do announcements. It'll be easier.
All right. So, like I've mentioned before, the top left-hand corner is our gift goal. The number I currently have is we're sitting at 257. And Jay might have some things to add on. But we do this show each day from Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 1 Pacific time. So if you guys can help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards looking at that gift haul.
Sorry.
Did you find it?
No, sorry. Something started playing, but I realized you can't hear that.
Okay. Well, I can pause.
No, it's not playing. It was something. It was just loud, so I said sorry for it being loud. Yeah.
Oh, got it. Anyways, if you haven't subscribed to us already, please do so. You can subscribe wherever you're watching and check out our link tree in the bio. We're on all social media platforms. We've got merch. Jay's on Cameo, and these episodes are uploaded to Spotify.
Oh, there we go. I was trying to find the filter on. All right, there's CNN, Sky News. Yeah, I can't. They're not showing me. Yeah, if you find it, send it to me.
If anyone has a link to it and they're in the Discord, feel free to drop it to me. If anyone has it.
All right. All right, we're gonna go. This is the gateway to what we're talking about in Palestine today. Let me go down. My first question is Adam Freeland, who I'm not a fan of, honestly. I think there's you have Adam Freeland. I forget that other kid's name that like talks with the fake accent, and they do these like shocking interviews. I'm not a fan of it. I get it. I understand it's mostly satire, and like everybody can have a different. People think different things are funny. I'm not a fan of Adam Freeland, but what I am a fan of is that sometimes these like troll channels wind up being the best journalists. This is Richie Torres. Richie Torres is a fake progressive. He's a complete and total phony. He's a complete and total fraud. He's completely bought and paid for by AIPAC. And he pretends that he's not. So he went on Adam Friedland's show, I think probably expecting something funny, and Adam Friedland absolutely destroys him.
Hamas murdered thousands of people.
So what does that mean?
That Hamas is a terrorist organization for murdering innocent children and civilians.
How many civilians have been killed in this war?
The war is a tragedy, but
90%
again,
of
you're
them have been
suggesting that
they've killed journalists.
People have been killed in a war. It's been a tragedy.
They've killed people waiting for aid.
But you're suggesting that it is the policy of the Israeli government to murder civilians?
Yes. Yeah. Raise your hand if you think that's their policy. Fucking everybody knows that. Of course that's their policy.
Okay, I got the link. Sorry to interject.
It's all right. Send it to me in a minute.
And that is a notion that I reject.
You gotta listen, man, you gotta be like a human being about this.
People who are dying in the war, which to me is a tragedy, because war is a tragedy.
Do you feel in your heart that this is what you're saying is right?
If you remove Hamas...
You don't actually think that.
I told you what I believe. Don't tell me what I believe. I've told you what I believe.
Why would you believe that?
Because there are people who see the world differently. I know it's a shock to you, but there are people who see the world differently from you.
Fuck Richie Torres. Well, it's a belief. Yeah, your belief is fucking stupid, dude. I don't believe my eyes. When I see the Israelis killing innocent people every day, I choose not to believe that. And that's a belief that I can have. Yeah, it's a belief you can have. And everybody's going to call you a fucking psycho. What a crazy belief to have. Who left is like, this is where we find common ground. This is where me and the right can come together. Like, of course that's what Israel's doing. Everybody knows that's what Israel is doing. They're doing a genocide. Everybody knows that now. Everybody knows that they're killing innocent people. Everybody knows that they're starving innocent people. If this is like an 80-20 issue in the United States, this went from like 90-10, 90% Israel to like 80-20 the opposite way. Yeah, dude, we've got eyes, Richie Torres. I know you got paid by AIPAC, but could you kindly go fuck yourself? Is he getting primaried? Somebody better be primarying Richie Torres. Fuck that guy. Between him and who's that dipshit from Pennsylvania? What's that guy's? Fetterman. They're terrible. All right. Did he get a primary? Who's primarying? Unlikely to recover. Torres. That was for government. Is he going to be? I don't know. I hope he gets primary. I'm done with Richie Torres. I'm done with Hakeem Jeffries. I'm done with Chuck Schumer. I'm done with all these people. Like, I get it. At first, if you, maybe the first month or so, you could accept that these folks were still on the side of Israel. Maybe. But now being like, oh, they're not targeting civilians. I'm not going to show the CNN thing. I'll show the Brett Cross stuff tomorrow so I can get the good parts since we missed most of it. Thanks for getting that. Then we have, like, it's just clear how funding works with Israel. Richie Torres is funded by Israel, so he goes on there and he lies. And he pretends that an atrocity is not happening because he chooses feelings. I'm going to guess that Patrick Bet-David probably gets some funding there, or at least some help. Patrick Bet-David, after the absolute debacle of the Nelk boys interviewing Netanyahu, then Patrick Bet-David, who criticized the Nelk boys and was like, you should have been ready for some pushback. He does the same thing. I don't know why people are afraid to press Netanyahu. I don't know, I don't know PBD's finances. I don't know his world. Like, maybe there's a connection. One thing I do know about PBD is Patrick Bet-David is 1, a coward. 2, he's intellectually dishonest. 3, he's intellectually lazy. 4, he got rich by being a scammer. He literally ran like this, like there's MLMs and then there's scam MLMs, and his is like a straight up scam MLM insurance provider. And then he bought his fame by paying people like Kobe Bryant and Tom Brady to come to these events, and he made it look like they were friends, and he interviewed them, but he paid them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then he parlayed it into a political podcast, which he has to align with the right to do, because they're the only ones dumb enough to not realize that, like, Patrick Bet-David's a fucking moron. Legitimately, if you're a person who turns on Patrick Bet-David every day, you're an idiot. And this is a shared belief I have with a lot of people on the right. This isn't like a right or left view. This is not a well-respected human being. This is not an intellectually honest. This is not like a powerhouse figure. This is not a skilled interviewer. This is somebody who got rich by scamming people and then got famous by paying for it. And now here he is with Netanyahu. And look, if you are interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu, rest assured it's because you are viewed as a rollover bitch. Netanyahu's not sitting down with anybody who he doesn't think that he can just steamroll. So if Netanyahu reaches out to you, he's like, hey, will you interview me? Immediately know that he thinks you're a bitch.
What do you say to the critics who say, Israel owns America, Israel is who makes America do things they want him to do, whether it's through AIPAC, whether it's through, funding, money. You'll typically hear this. This has been overly said the last couple of years in a major way. And there's a community of Americans that at this point believe that whatever Israel wants, they make a phone call to America. America better do or else. Do you agree with that?
Here's why he's a bitch. Ask the real question, Patrick Bet-David. What do you say to people who say that Israel controls America? That's not the question, Patrick Bet-David. What do you say to people who say you convinced us to bomb Iran for no fucking reason? What do you say to the Americans who say that you dragged us into the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war? What do you say to Americans who, like, at this point, everybody's seen it. Everybody's seen, like, the 5 dancing Israeli video. And everybody's just saw that you had a sex predator leave the United States and be protected by Israel. Ask the real questions then, Patrick Bet-David, because the reason that people think that Netanyahu's controlling America is because there's all these stories that nobody ever addresses. Ask the real question. That is such a fucking softball. What do you say? Because if I'm Netanyahu, I'm like, yeah, I don't control America. What are you talking about? Obviously, you guys vote, you pick your people. Like, I'm just friends with them. Ask a real question. Why did you just get us to bomb Iran? How'd you manage to convince Americans that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq? How the fuck did you get us to go into Afghanistan after 9/11? How'd you do that? Why were you testifying in front of Congress? Why were Republicans bringing you up as their material witness to convince us to go to war? Why is it that every time we go to war in the Middle East, it's because of some shit that you did or because some shit that you said? How come every time we sacrifice the lives of Americans, it seems to be because you dragged our ass into that war? That's the real question. But Patrick Bet-David is a cucky little bitch.
Absolutely not. I think it's full of hokum. First of all, do you know President Trump? I mean, sort of, I've known him for many years. Sure. Okay. You don't make him do anything. He does what he thinks is in America's interest. And
yeah, but he's dumb. This is the thing. Like, ask the real question. Nobody thinks that you make Trump do something. You just trick him because he's dumb. That's what you do. You give him gifts, you praise him, and then he does what you want. Just give him money. Why is Trump doing what Netanyahu wants him to do? Because Netanyahu's like, hey, once we do the genocide in Gaza, you can have it. And Trump's like, all right, that's cool. That works. Yeah, I love Netanyahu.
he's very forceful about it. When he sees allies who don't step up to the plate, he's not shy about saying it. And we have a different relationship altogether. It's not one of coercion or manipulation. It's one of common interests and common values. And I think that people understand that because Israel is different. It really is. We know that we have to fight for ourselves, and we do. But when we fight for ourselves, we fight for you too.
Yeah. What? Excuse me. What? You're fighting for us? Oh, we're doing this genocide for you. This is like the abusive parent. I beat my children for their own good. The fuck are you talking? You're doing this for us? Why has Israel ever done for the United States of America besides drag our ass into war and take money from us? What are they doing for us? Nothing. They tricked a bunch of cult. Like, by the way, they took their religion and they're like, hey, Christians, actually, you should be over here. Yeah, Israel's really important to you. And dumb Christians are like, oh, that is important to us. Like, so we better go blow up some brown people now. Oh, we should do that. What have you done for us? Why doesn't PBD ask him about the interview that he did where he bragged about being able to control American politicians and control American policy because 80% of Americans just agree with whatever the fuck Israel says? You going to ask that question, Patrick David? Or are you going to sit there like a putsy little bitch? Putsy little bitch.
Because we fight Iran. Iran tried to murder President Trump not once, but twice. Iran killed and wounded thousands of Americans with their IEDs, explosive devices, in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Let's talk about it. Why did they want to kill Trump? First of all, I don't think they tried. They put out a bounty. I don't know that we've had any attempts. They tried to make that shooter in Florida linked. I never saw any credible evidence that was linked. It's true that they wanted to kill Trump. That's true. Why? Because we killed one of their I guess not politicians, a member of their administration, of their cabinet. Why did we kill him? Well, because he instructed troops to kill our troops. What were our troops doing? Killing their troops. It was war. Right? So what Iran said is like, wait a minute. I realize we're at war and we haven't went after you, but now you get to like go to an airport, the Baghdad airport, and you get to drone strike an airport to take out one of our generals and kill innocent people. But we can't do that. Yeah, like if I'm Iran, I'm pissed about that. I'd also like to point out that the only reason that our troops got blown up in the first place, and then we had to retaliated against Soleimani. The only reason any of that shit ever happened is because this bitch dragged us to war. Because he's tricked us into going to war again. That's the whole. We were only there for him. So when he's like, "We're actually here for you," we wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for you, dude. We wouldn't. Iran wouldn't be our enemy. Iran is our enemy because you guys keep fucking with Iran and Iran fucks with you. They're your enemy. They're not our enemy. The only time Iran ever messes with us is when we invade the Middle East. They're not coming to our home country and blowing us up. Right? It is crazy. No pushback from PBD. Oh, yeah, that is a good point.
Iran killed 241 Marines in Beirut. They bomb your embassies. They burn American flags. They have mobs chanting, death to America, death to America.
Yeah.
So when we fight Iran, we're not just fighting our war, we're fighting your war. But
real quick, we bombed Iran. We did that. You didn't do that. We did that. You started a war with Iran. You just started bombing them, and then they bombed you back, and then we went and bombed them. What are you talking about? Like, are we going to be honest about what happened with Iran just barely? I keep asking Republicans every day, like, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Can you explain to me why we bombed Iran? The guest yesterday, like, basically was like, yeah, fuck that. We shouldn't have done that. We bombed Iran because Israel started sending missiles into Iran, and then Iran fired back, and then we used that as justification, costing us, I don't know, how much did that cost? Got to be billions of dollars, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? We're fighting Iran because you asked us to.
But we are fighting that war here in the Middle East. And let me tell you what would happen. And as someone who had been in the Middle East as a child, I think you can appreciate this.
Also, Israel has killed multiple Americans in their genocide against the Palestinians. And Donald Trump hasn't done a goddamn thing about it. Multiple Americans have died at the hands of these Israelis. And somebody mentioned in the 50s and 60s also. They've also killed Americans.
It's not only we who are threatened by Iran. It's our Arab neighbors too. They know that Iran wants to conquer them, pillage their oil fields, take over the Middle East, the maritime routes that control world trade. So they know that.
Isn't that what we did? It's so like that's why we were there, and we did it on behalf of Israel. Everybody admits, isn't that why we went to Iraq and Afghanistan? I know that's not why they told us we were going there, but isn't that effectively what happened? We wanted to control world trade. We're just mad that Iran wants to control trade. Out trade. Be better at trade. Where's all these? It's ironic that the Republicans are like free market capitalists, except for the rest of the world. I love free market and freedom. What about in the Middle East? Bomb the fuck out of them and steal everything. Like, no free markets outside of America. It's only free markets inside of America. But outside of it, yeah, it's force.
But if you look at who's actually fighting Iran, it's Israel. It's Israel, our brave soldiers, our incredibly brave soldiers. And this tiny country.
Oh, how brave. Look at those brave soldiers sniping children and sniping people that are getting food. And so brave. I'm so proud of the IDF and their remarkable bravery. I bet they were very brave while they watched the United States fly their bombers into Iran and drop a bomb on their nuclear facility. God, did we thank them for that? And we should probably have a day of remembrance for the brave Israeli soldiers who sat there fingering their assholes while we bombed Iran.
You know, President Trump asked me, "How do you guys do this? I mean, you're such a small country. You know, we're the size of New Jersey, bigger than Rhode Island, but that's it. We're slightly smaller than New Jersey, and we take on this enormous empire with all its proxies, this anti-American empire."
How do you do it? Donald Trump to Netanyahu. How do you do it? He's like, we're just really brave. Also, would you mind bombing Iran for us? Also, could you send in your military anytime we get in over our skis? Yeah, we can do that. How do you do it? What do you mean, how do you do it? We do it. We do it. You wouldn't exist. We did it. How do you do it? Stop picking fights, bitch. You're 5'2" in a tiny country. Please stop picking fights. In America, can we just like cut him off? Can we take away his credit card, please? Do we really need, like, we're $37 trillion in debt. Like 70% of that is war. I don't think it's that high. I think it's less than that. I think it's like 40%. Like, we're in debt to fight this guy's battles. And he's doing the Trump thing. He's doing the, sir, how do you do it? I'm not surprised that Trump doesn't know how he does it. It's like, how do you do it, sir? You know what? Our people are just brave, by the way. Can we borrow your bombers for a minute? and they bomb them. Great job, Israel.
That threatens to kill the president and chance death to America. How do you do this? And I said, well, you know, you're like an enormous lion, almost like a prehistoric saber-toothed tiger. You're enormous. We're not, but we are. You know, we're the the badger. You know, this little animal.
Absolutely.
Badger. And you see a badger being, some tiger or lioness is trying to kill it, and it sort of turns around. It has very sharp teeth, and it knows how to go to the weakness points, to the points of vulnerability of the enemy. And you see these things. I watch NGO Wild when my wife lets me, because she likes to watch cooking shows. Okay, so late at night after we have this argument, we settle on some compromise, and on Nat Geo Wild.
Joseph, I already said that. I said that Israel started that war they started sending in missiles to Iran. Yeah, I already said that. You must have just got here, but I already said that.
I see these films of this badger, this tiny creature, it's about this big, taking
about the same size as Netanyahu
on a lion, and the lion runs away. So Israel is the badger of the international scene. It has the fortitude, the will to fight our enemies because of our history, because for so long.
And of course, those enemies right now that they're fighting are mostly starving men, women, and children. A lot of children. A lot of enemy starving children. A lot of 100-pound men. That's their enemy right now, that they're starving to death. It's so brave. They're so brave over there in Israel. How we have to look up to them. They're so brave.
We didn't have a state. We didn't have an army. We didn't have the ability to defend ourselves, which culminated in this crescendo of massacres that culminated in the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust, in which a third of our people were annihilated. We have that in our bones, in our hearts, in our soul. And
it's crazy. It's crazy to like reference the Holocaust, and then like while you're actively committing a genocide. It's so crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, like whatever the worst thing that has ever happened to you, if you started doing it on other people and then you started bragging about it. Now, this does happen. I mean, people that have awful things committed against them, oftentimes, like just generally, I mean, most people who, abuse children, they were abused themselves. That happens. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. Maybe we need to break this cycle. But like, it's crazy to talk about like how awful the Holocaust was, which it was, and then be like, so we're going to do a Holocaust now. Econ Mike said, if your argument for bombing Iran is they might have nukes and yell death to America, then why don't we just take North Korea off the map? They actually have nukes. Because and yeah, it's a good point, Mike. And like, if saying any of that, like, well, first of all, why not Russia? Why aren't we bombing Russia? They've said that in Russia too. Sue said, I appreciate you and your channel. Thank you. Brian said, just arrived and what is changing about privacy? It was a new program. I don't called shit. What was it called? Does anybody remember the name of Gideon? It's called Gideon. It's a IDF funded like internet scraper.
We fight. So that's I think President Trump would like to see more Israels around the globe, because everybody who says America first, I can respect that. But I don't think they want America alone. And if you can have allies that actually share your values and fight for them in various parts of the world, and especially in the Middle East.
Does Israel share our values? Are we genocidal? Or are we like, if we're talking about who shares, like in this country, who shares Netanyahu's values, that will be anti-Muslim ethno-state proponents. We understand Israel wants an ethno-state. We're supporting an ethno-state. Why was Germany the bad guy? Because they committed a genocide to protect an ethno-state. Israel is committing a genocide to protect an ethno-state. So when Benjamin Netanyahu, for you in the chat, says America shares our values, and you go, yeah, that's why we call you Nazis. Get it now? Do you get it? Because you like ethno-states and you don't mind genocide. So it might be a different target, might not be targeting Jewish people, but you're targeting somebody to promote an ethno-state. It's fair when we call you fascist, when we call you racist, when we call you white supremacists or white nationalists. If you find yourself aligning with this guy, it's accurate. And if you don't, and you're MAGA or Republican, I'm not talking about you. But he says that we align with American values. And if we're talking about American values, that must be what he's talking about, because he's not talking about Christianity, because Judaism isn't Christianity. They're a little bit opposed to each other. Judaism teaches that Christianity is essentially a lie, that Jesus wasn't the Son of God. And that's the entire crux of Christianity, that Jesus was the Son of God. He died for your sins. He was resurrected. He's been here and he will return. And in Judaism, they believe that the Savior has not returned yet. So they don't share your Christian values. They don't share your belief system. What they share with you is a desire to have an ethno-state. Cool. So when you find yourself being like, Netanyahu's making good points, I'd think about that.
Police with Iran trying to take over the world. I think that's a valuable addition. So, it'll take time for this to sink in, but it will sink in.
Yeah, the topic of America First, it's become a little bit more clear where people are being put in different groups, America First and America Only, and that debate's going on right now, which is a great debate. I actually like listening to both sides make their argument. Well, you said, do you think President Trump is a type of a man that you can get anything you want and make him do what he wants? I don't think President Trump is, but I do.
He is the most easily duped and bought and paid for politician in this country. Nobody is easier to, like, he's doing socialism right now. He's doing actual socialism, and he's just like, this isn't socialism, it's capitalism. And why is he saying that? Because he's getting a benefit from it, and his advisors told him that it was capitalism, and that's it. That's the whole thing. That's all it takes. Financial benefit, and then lie to him. It's great. I swear to God, if these people if this cabinet isn't faking and pretending that Trump is smart just so that they get power, then I have real concerns about them. Because if you're sitting in that room listening to Trump and you're like, yeah, this is it, you've got problems.
You think Biden and others are. So the whole criticism of the fact that Israel, whatever they want, they can call America and have favors being done, I would agree with you on Trump, but with Biden. So maybe a question that I don't think's been asked yet. Putin was asked 2 weeks ago if the war between Ukraine and Russia would have happened under Trump. He said, no, it wouldn't have happened. So for you, with the war and the Hamas attack.
Because he would have given him the land. What do you guys think? Let's walk through this, MAGA. Let's walk through this. What does Putin want? He wants land. Where does he want land? He wants it near the ocean. What land has he taken? The land near the ocean. What does he demand that he gets to keep? That land. So when Vladimir Putin says, this wouldn't have happened, this war wouldn't have happened if Trump was in office, and you can see that Trump is going to concede that land to him, how are you concluding that what Putin really means is, I never would have taken this land. I'm so afraid of him that I wouldn't take this land. Well, if you're so afraid of him, then why do you have that land? Why aren't you backing off? Why are you accelerating? Why are you refusing to end the war? When Vladimir Putin tells you guys that this wouldn't have happened without Trump, it's because he believes that Trump would have just given him that land. I dare you to make an argument against that. I dare you. Like, there's no argument against that. Donald Trump is tough. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's being real tough right now, isn't he? What would Trump have done? How would he have stopped it? Putin wants that land. Trump, no. And Putin's like, damn, he said no. No. Putin would have invaded. Trump would have had to arm Ukraine or send in our own troops. That's the only thing he could have done differently than Biden did, is just send in our own troops. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy what you guys will believe. Watch. Why? What are you watching? Netanyahu and Putin are running circles around Trump. He does whatever they ask him to do. And all they have to do is go on TV and be like, this guy is really tough. He's a tough negotiator. What has he conceded? What has Netanyahu conceded? What has Putin conceded? Not a goddamn thing. Tough negotiator, my ass. If somebody's a tough negotiator, you probably would concede on something. You probably wouldn't get 100% of what you want, but that's what they get. 100% of what they want. Every once in a while, Trump's like, I didn't really like that Netanyahu bombed a hospital. I didn't really like that Putin sent in missiles. That's about it. He's so tough.
Have happened if President Trump was president instead of Biden?
I don't know. It's a good question, but you said something about Biden that I should just point out the facts. In fact, President Biden supported us in the beginning of the war after this horrific massacre, and he came here, and I very much appreciate it. But as the war progressed and the vilifications of Israel, the distortions on the media began to pile on, he began to take a different course. And when we were just...
As the world realized you were doing a genocide, Joe Biden didn't blindly defend me. And that's what we love about Donald Trump, who's not controllable, is that he just blindly defends us. Not like Joe Biden, who takes new information and adjusts. What I love about Donald Trump is he will just suck my dick the whole way through.
2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way in Gaza, I said we have to go into that last position. That
3/4 of the way of what? Excuse me. Is he just saying that is he just saying he's doing the genocide? Remember at the beginning when you guys are all like, he's not trying to take Palestine. He's not carpet bombing Palestine. This is just, they're just getting back at Hamas. What do you mean 3/4? How are you 3/4 of the way done? How do you know that? How do you know you're at 75%? It seems like maybe you have a goal. And if it's not, obviously I'm out. This is out of context, right? Like I'm misunderstanding what he's saying. 75% means what? What are you talking about here?
Of course. And when we were just 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way in Gaza, I said we have to go into that last position that they had where they had organized battalions.
Land. Oh, I get it now. So there's 25% left of the land that you haven't taken over yet? I applaud the people who were right about this from October 7th on. I applaud them. I wasn't one of them. I was late to the party, so I don't want to say I was here for the party. Like, I'm one of those people who took this position when it became obvious. And that was a long time ago. It was a very, very long time ago. But again, I wasn't there. I had good friends. I can credit Athena for most of this, to be honest. Like, just watching those streams over and over and getting that information, like, she deserves probably most of the credit for why I got educated on this. But like, at this point, now he's just like, well, we almost got it. We've got them backed into a corner, and we're just going to wipe them out, and then we'll be done. By the way, Trump said 2 to 3 weeks it'll be done. He just said that like a couple of weeks ago. Not I'm going to end it. He said there's going to be some things that happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then I think it'll be done. So obviously Netanyahu's told him the plan too.
A city called Rafah in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And he said, don't go there. And he said, if you do go there, I'll smack an embargo on you. Now, you're fighting a 7-front war, and all of a sudden you're slapped with an embargo of weapons. That was tough. And I said to President Biden, who I've known for many years, I respect the fact you're the president of the United States, but I'm the prime minister of the one and only Jewish state, and we've been fighting to survive in our small place under the sun. It's been a battle that has been going on for 3,500 years. So I'll have to do what we have to do. And then a few days later, Tony...
you say 3,500 years?
Blinken, who was the Secretary of State, came to Israel, and he said, the president is serious about this embargo. And I said, Tony, I know it's serious because you stopped all the weapons. You slow-walked them before, but now you've stopped them. And then I said to him this. He said, well, how are you going to do it then? I said, Tony, we'll fight with our fingernails if we have to, but we're not going to leave. It's like the Allies would leave.
Yeah, but what did they really do? They just corralled Palestinians, and they put them into little corners so that they could massacre them more easily, and then they starved them to death. That's what they really did. Are they fighting with their fingernails? No, they're cowardly sitting on top of hills and sniping people and starving them to death. This tough guy attitude, will do anything it takes. No, you won't. I see you guys, like your IDF soldiers are taking breaks at the beach all the time. Like you guys you're fighting the most cowardly war. You're starving people to death. You're doing a genocide. You're doing a genocide by bombing hospitals. You're double tapping hospitals. You're sniping kids. You get fucked. We'll fight till the death. You're not fighting. You're murdering. Somebody want to show me, by the way, like I'm looking at this, like, you know what I don't see very often? Attacks on the IDF. I'm not seeing a whole lot of Israeli casualties lately. I just see a lot of starving children. I see a lot of sniped children. I see a lot of bodies in hospitals. I see journalists and I see doctors dying. But I don't know why we're still calling this a war. Is it a war? It looks like just like a slow-moving genocide. Honestly, you Israel folks, what should I look up right now? What is it that the Palestinians are doing right now? What is it that Hamas is doing right now to them? Admittedly, given my politics, maybe I'm missing stuff. But I'm giving you, like, you Zionists here. I'm giving you an opportunity. What am I missing here? Babies taking hostages by Palestinians. When are they doing that? That's currently happening? Are people arguing flat earth in the chat? What the fuck is going on there? Is that happening? Nothing? You guys got quiet? What should I be looking at? There we go. You're right. They're doing it in the worst way. Hamas needs to be stopped. Hamas is the reason those people were starving and used as human shields. I've never seen any. Show me the evidence that Hamas was using people as human shields. I've heard that. I still don't think that's a justification, but goddamn, I haven't seen any evidence of it. In fact, every single time Israel has said that Hamas was using human shields, it turns out not to be true. Zionist is a bad term. Like, you should not be a Zionist. I know of 2 babies that were kidnapped. You see how this is actually pretty crazy. Like, look, for anybody who doesn't usually discuss this, like, this is telling. If I ask the friends on my side of the aisle to talk about atrocities that have happened in Palestine, the list would go on and on and on. Not a single one of you can tell me what Hamas is currently doing to Israel. What's currently happening? You're just literally saying shit. Human shield. Human shield. Where's the evidence of that? What would I Google? Who said that? Fairy Bintang. What would I Google to find evidence of Hamas using human shields? Anybody on that one? I did see those the footage of people that were being kidnapped, but again, I'm asking you about human shields, bud. I don't know why you're changing the subject. Who are the human? Where would I go to find human shields? A Zionist is somebody who believes in, like, it's kind of like a birthright, that the land of Jerusalem is for the Jewish people, and they believe that they have like I guess like a mandate from God to have that land. God damn, look at that. Not one person could give me an example. This is crazy. This is crazy. Not one of you can give me an example of a human shield? Why did they kidnap them? Human shields? No, it looks like they kidnapped them for hostages, not as human shields. Again, show me the evidence. This is bad, dude. This is bad for you guys. Do you feel confident right now? Do you feel confident saying this, like being exposed? This is like the lowest level debate. You are this convinced that Israel's the good guys with literally no evidence? All your evidence is that, like, bad things happened on October 7th? I get it. Bad things happened on October 7th. Largely, by the way, not largely, somewhat, now we know a good amount of stuff was a lie. on October 7th. A good amount was staged. A good amount of those stories weren't even true. Some of them were. It was horrific. All right, so we don't have it. Isn't that wild? How do we have a war where there's no fighting? How do we have a war where there's no fighting going on? Just assassination. All right, finished with Netanyahu. I'll announce for Jen so she doesn't have to break in. We are pretty short on the gift goal today. That's my bad, and haven't allowed Jen in. But if you guys could help us knock out that gift goal. William said, for your consideration, the gays like the way you talk down to MAGA. When do we start calling them lice raids? Thank you. Tim, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Did I miss any other Venmos here? Don't think so. Is that today? Yeah, Izzy also thanks for joining the Dollar Train. If everybody joined the Dollar Train, we'd knock out that goal in a hurry. It'd be no problem. Sully said, how many Trump supporters does it take to change a light bulb?
Did you get Sully's super chat?
I'm reading it right now. Trump says it's changed and his supporters all cheer in the dark. All right. Finish this.
A quarter of the German battalions in place and not going to Berlin. And I said, would you take that? Would you take that, Patrick? Of course you wouldn't. So we didn't take it either. We did it against the opposition of the American president. So much for Israel controlling the United States. We don't. But we do seek to control our destiny. And when somebody commits a crime like they did on October 7th.
What is destiny is not real. That's not a real thing. Is anybody going to push back there? That's what Zionism is. For the person who asked what Zionism is, this is what he's talking about. We believe in fulfilling our destiny. What is their destiny? Their destiny is that they will own that land. It will be returned to the Jewish people. That is their destiny. What needs to happen so that that land can be returned to them? The Palestinians need to go. They didn't move the Palestinians. They just wiped them off the planet. They just did a genocide. They're openly telling you what they're doing. Like, he's just saying, like, we have every right to do a genocide. It's not protect ourselves. It's not defend ourselves. That worked for a while. Nobody buys that shit anymore. And he's not even saying it anymore. He's just like, we have a destiny. So we're going to murder all these people. Danielle said, thanks so much for speaking this truth. It really means a lot to the Palestinians. They are finally hearing the truth spoken about them. Thank you. I feel a lot of guilt for not covering it sooner, if we're being honest. I feel incredibly guilty having a daily show that was growing and not covering it enough. So I appreciate you saying that. 6 Cents Amelia, thank you for the super chat.
Decapitating our men, raping our women and then murdering them, burning children alive in front of their parents, taking 255 hostages, grandmothers with their grandchildren, this horror, and pledged to do it again and again and again. Well, what choice do we have? We have to fight them and their Iranian patrons, and we did just that. We did that first.
He's a maniac. That is quite possibly the most evil human being on earth. And we roll out the red carpet every time he comes to America. That is by far the most evil person I can think of in this world. I don't think anybody is Vladimir Putin is not more evil. Kim Jong-un is not more evil. I don't even know who you would choose. That is the most evil human being on earth. And for some reason in America, we roll out the red carpet for him. For some reason, some of you sick fucks here still think that that's a good person. That is that is a man who just sat there for 10 minutes and told Patrick Bet-David that because of the actions on October 7th, he was required to do a genocide. And then he criticized the previous administration for not wanting for no longer wanting to be complicit in a genocide. And he praised the current administration for getting out of the way, but also funding a genocide. That's what we just watched right there. That is pure, unadulterated evil. I for the life of me, I have not figured out how any of you can sit by and do this. I don't know if I don't know if you haven't seen the videos. I don't know if you just purposely go out of your way to not know this. But if you're sitting there, if you're somewhere right now and you're hearing what I'm saying about Netanyahu and you're thinking, what? How is he? What are you talking about? He's a victim. I just challenge you, go to Twitter Go follow Drop Site News on Twitter and just start scrolling through the videos. And these are videos from Palestinians. And it's just live video, people being endlessly murdered. My entire timeline, every day I open my internet, it is people being murdered. It's children. It's people carrying it's people carrying their dead children. It's mothers kissing their children goodbye. And not only from assassination, but from like starving to death. Imagine if you have children, just imagine that, like, here in America, let's say you're a Christian. You have a bunch of Christian nationalists go in and do a heinous attack on the Capitol, and they kidnap some people and they murder some people. And the response from the federal government is to round all of you up and force you into the corners and feed you one very scant meal a day sometimes. And you have to sit there with no weapons, with no home, living in tents, with no medical care, and you have to sit there for months and watch your child starve to death. And you're going to tell me that the people perpetrating that aren't evil? They're not just straight evil? If you don't know what I'm talking about, if this is all new to you, if you think this is hyperbole, if you think that Netanyahu's actually the good guy, just because you watch the news, I understand that those people can exist. I'm just saying, if you're one of those people, please go try and just go to the internet. You don't have to listen to talking heads. Just go watch videos and then figure out a way to justify that. And then let me know if you could figure out a way to justify that. I'd like to talk about it, because that sounds crazy to me. Then Patrick Bet-David. I don't actually know if this is a newer clip or older clip. He was on Piers Morgan. This was from, actually, there was the date, from August 26th, so it's new. Here he was on Piers Morgan now, trying to like defend why he still supports Israel.
Supposed to be a grandmaster. Your number one move should be protect your border, not Ukraine. If you're saying let's worry about Ukraine, maybe it's number 9 on the list. It ain't number 1 above the border. That is the most ludicrous argument I would ever make.
Well, let me ask you this.
We have to take care of America
let me ask you this.
Then we take care of everybody else.
Why should America be supporting Israel then? That's thousands of miles away.
How much money are we giving to Israel?
Billions.
How much money are we giving Israel? I'm curious. Go ahead.
Right now, it's about $3 billion a year.
I'm curious. Go ahead. Are we sending troops over there? Are we sending missiles over there?
No, but
how much money are we?
Yeah, we have.
Given to
America
Israel. I know
does
the
spend,
dome we've given it since 1945. I think $10 billion we've given to them. $3 billion is towards the dome.
Yeah.
How much money are we giving them?
Billions of dollars.
Not comparable to what we've given to Ukraine in 12 months.
True, but it's $3 billion a year.
24 months? No way. Not even close.
Isn't the principle the same? You're doing it to help them defend themselves.
No, it's not. The part with Israel is slightly different, because it's both strategic, because there's only one country in Israel that has historically always been pro-America and has been an ally in the Middle East, and that's Israel. Iran's not been the case since the Shah.
Hasn't Ukraine basically been pro-America? We've acted as the deterrent. Like, has Ukraine not been on our side? Is that what's the difference there? Like that, Ukraine is this independent country that's not protected by NATO that keeps Russia from expanding, right? Like that's the buffer.
Right? Saudi Arabia now with MBS, he's trying to work and make progress to the point where Ronaldo, your friend, feels safe going out there with his family to play soccer there. These are good things that MBS and Saudi Arabia is doing. He's kind of doing what the Shah was doing back in the 50s, 60s, 70s. I like what he's doing with Saudi Arabia. But Israel, to us, a part of it is also loyalty due to our faith, where we need that country.
It's always that. It's always that. And that's what you guys have. You guys think that Israel's on your side because you think they share your faith. They're using your faith. They're taking your faith and they're using it against you so you'll support a genocide. They don't believe what you believe. They think your whole fucking religion is made up. They're lying to you. They think Christianity is bullshit. You don't have a shared religion. You don't have shared goals. They think that your entire thing was made up by a guy named Jesus who pretended to be the Son of God. They didn't like him. Okay, it was a Jewish guy who they think pretended to be God. They think your whole religion's made up. You do not have a shared values with them. You have a shared book, and their version of the book says you guys are fucking lying. Okay, it's not any different. It's really no different than Islam, except for that they've realized that if they tell America that they share the values, that America will give them all of this money to fight Islam. But when push comes to shove, if it gets down to Judaism versus Christianity, they're going to go to war with you. Okay, they are not your friend. They're lying to you. You have no shared values religiously. You might have like societal shared values. But make no doubt about it, like they religiously, you're just as much an enemy as Islam to them. It's basically the same story, right? You had Muhammad, who the folks of Islam believe that Muhammad spoke to God, and the Jewish people believe that Muhammad was a false prophet, just like they believe Jesus was a false prophet. You have the Old Testament, which everybody kind of uses, and then you have the breakoff. You have the Christianity that went with Jesus, and then you have Muhammad with Islam. They all think that you guys are wrong. They believe they are superior to you. They're just using you. Stop pretending. This is not. There's the fact that like Judeo-Christian values is even a thing. Who the fuck do you think made that up? Who the fuck do you think came up with that shit? They did. They did. Why? Because they're like, shit. If we say this, Americans will protect us. What's the reality? Let's be honest. What's really the shared interest? We're white.
Especially what America was founded on, Judeo-Christian. That's a little bit deeper than that.
America was founded on Judeo-Christian values? I don't think so. I don't think those were Jewish, folks. I don't know if you remember the history of America and the way that Jewish people in this country were treated for a while. I don't think they thought that they had shared values. I don't remember Jewish folks in America from the history books talking about how the shared values of the American Nazi Party led by Charles Lindbergh were. I don't remember that. I seem to think that their values were at odds with each other.
But with Ukraine, the guy's an opportunistic guy. Respect to him that's coming up to America, making everybody feel guilty and raising money. I salute him for being a great beggar and a great fundraiser.
That's what he is. He's an opportunistic guy. That's what Zelensky did. He saw this opportunity when Russia invaded him and started murdering his citizens, and he thought to himself, this is a great opportunity to get defensive aid from the United States of America. Tricked you. Pat, for the life of me, I can't figure out like who watches Patrick Bet-David. Who is this for? Like just Republicans with brain injuries? What the like people with memory lapses that like you just don't know anything? Who is Patrick Bet-David for? What the fuck are we criticizing Zelensky for? An opportunist. What? He didn't ask Russia to invade. I'm sorry. He didn't sign the agreement that said that if Russia that we would act as a deterrent from Russia invading Ukraine, and that's why Ukraine gave their nuclear weapons back. An opportunist? That's Putin. Putin saw an opportunity in America because guess what Putin's stated goal is? To destroy America. You know that thing that we bombed Iran for, allegedly, that they want to destroy America? That's also Putin's goal. And if you look at these two things collectively, you have Vladimir Putin who says death to America, and you have Iran who says death to America. And Iran stayed in their country. And Putin invaded a different country that we're supposed to protect. And he said, try me, bitch. Try me. Do something about it. And we didn't really do anything about it. We just gave Ukraine weapons. Meanwhile, you have Netanyahu as the invader. Why are we friends with both invaders? Why are we so soft on the invaders? Why are we critical of Zelensky? How in the fuck in America are we in a position where if I ask MAGA Republicans who's worse, Zelensky, Putin, or Netanyahu, almost all Republicans will say Zelensky, the man who was just minding his own fucking business when Russia came and invaded his country. Somehow that's become the bad guy in the right-wing circles in America. And why? Here's the real answer. Because you guys aren't Christians. You worship money. You are everything Jesus hated. Everything. What was his whole reason for hating Zelensky? We spent too much money in Ukraine. Why do you guys all hate Zelensky? It's too expensive. People are dying. Yeah, but like, what about the money? I'm cool with what we're doing in Ukraine. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with helping other countries defend themselves against invasions. But why is it the American right, the Christian right, the moral superior party? Why are you guys aligned with in genocidal invaders? And why do you despise people who need help? Why do you despise the defenseless and worship the invaders? Christians. Well, I've got a cross on, so fuck those Palestinians. We're so goddamn backwards. And I say this because it drives me fucking nuts. Somebody asked me yesterday about my conversation, because I think some people think I'm too friendly or too I take too much time, or I'm too compassionate to some people on the right. It's because I desperately want to have this conversation with my dad and my mom and my brother and my sister and everybody I grew up with. And I'm not allowed to, because if we have this conversation, they will leave. It's so uncomfortable with them that they will leave, because they hold themselves as these morally superior people, because we don't drink coffee, and we don't have sex before we get married, and we don't drink alcohol, and we don't like pornography, and we don't think that gay people are natural, and these are our morals. Okay, how do you feel about murdering children? Yeah, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. That's why, that's why I'm patient, because I don't know how the fuck I grew up in an area that is deeply religious, and who I went to church every week and was taught about Jesus, and I don't believe it, but I was taught about Jesus. And you know what happened when I left to go on a Mormon mission? Like a normal church, like it holds like 200 people ish, like a chapel. And in Mormon churches, in stake centers, which are like their bigger churches, you have a bigger chapel, and then you have a full-size gymnasium, like a basketball gym. And then on the end of that gymnasium, you have a stage. And it's up because Mormons used to do like plays and stuff. They don't really do that anymore. So on a normal day at church, the partition between the gym and the chapel is, in fact, let me just show you. I'm going to show you a Mormon chapel. Sorry, this is going to get a little personal. If you guys don't care about this, if you're here for the news, this is going to get a little bit more personal today. But this is what a Mormon chapel looks like. It's going to pull up here. I think this is a stake center. Yeah. Okay, so there's about that many people. Now, nobody usually sits up on the stage unless there's like a choir. You have the leadership of the church, which will sit over here, and then you'll have like 2 or 3 speakers that sit here. And then that's how many people are in a Mormon church. There's some chairs back behind this too. If I look at like a stake center, let me see if I can find a picture of this. All right. Oh, here's a great view of it. All right. This is what it looks like. Okay. So the reason I say that is because I want to talk about like what Mormons celebrate. So I was taught my whole life that these beliefs were important. And I was taught that because these beliefs were so true, and that because these beliefs were so critical to the coming of Jesus, and like we had to share this message with everybody else because they needed this in order to have eternal salvation. So because of that, Mormon kids, boys mostly, we are peer pressured to serve Mormon missions, which are 2 years. For those 2 years, you have to pay for it yourself. No internet. I could write a letter to my family once a week. I could talk to them on the phone twice a year. We biked or walked, and we went door to door, and we sold Jesus, right? It was so important, and it was so celebrated that on the day when I left for my mission, you give a farewell address. What normally was this chapel was full. This entire gym was full of people, and the stage was full of people. So proud that I was willing to take my beliefs that I believed in, sacrifice 2 years of my life, and go spread this message of love, right? And everybody celebrated it. And when I came home, it was full again. My community, my high school, I'd played a year of like college soccer at that point, like teammates, my entire family from around the country and around Utah, they all came. Everybody showed up. It was a celebration. My house was packed. these same people that talk about spreading love will not talk to me about a genocide. Because somehow, like, Donald Trump and MAGA and Zionism has hijacked that religion. And somehow politics have become part of that religion. And it's just as important in that religion that you have the right politics now, that you have the beliefs. So it's a real, like, mind fuck for me. Because I don't feel like I changed that much. Like, my values didn't change. My belief did. I don't believe in God. I don't believe Joseph Smith talked to God. I don't believe that he had golden plates that he was able to translate. Those beliefs I don't hold anymore. But the values I have about, like, taking care of the poor, about doing unto others like you would have them do unto you, about protecting the needy and the vulnerable, about not worshiping money, not worshiping idols, not worshiping outside, just men. All of that stuff stuck. That's still who I am. And yet, the people in my life sit back quietly, sometimes cheerlead, and sometimes say nothing about a genocide. And this is what I can't figure out about you folks. I understand we have political disagreements. Like, you don't want universal health care. I do. You don't want to tax the rich. I do. You want basically closed borders. I don't. Those things are debatable. Those things we can have a debate on. But what I don't understand is how so many people in this country completely lost what they claimed was their morality. And how quickly we went from, we're the good guys, Hitler was bad, to, you know what? Maybe we were on the wrong side of that. Because every Zionist in here, if you're a Zionist Christian, you would have been a Nazi. If you're Jewish and a Zionist, I'm not going to make that leap and say that I think you would have been a Nazi. I have the sneaking suspicion you would have sided with your faith, right? I don't think you would have thought that was okay. But the exact same rhetoric that you use to support the genocide in Palestine now is the exact rhetoric of the American Nazi Party. It's exactly the same. They were it was co-opted them too. They looked at Jewish people then the way that you look at Muslim people now. It was driven by they made Jewish people less than. And in America, we make Muslim people less than. Every time a Muslim gets into office, like, I've got to have 50 fucking Republicans talk about Sharia law. Every time. Even if they're not like a practicing Muslim, even if they just come from like a predominantly Muslim country. It doesn't matter what they say, it doesn't matter what they advocate for, but as soon as a Muslim is in office, it's Sharia law. And that's what it used to be like for Jewish people in this country. You couldn't hold office. It was even like that for Catholic people in this country for a while. It was like that when Mitt Romney ran for president. And Mormons loved it. Mormons adopted the fuck out of that. I got to tell you, when I was working for Mitt Romney, Mormons were like, see, everybody hates the Mormons. They only don't vote for Mitt Romney because they're anti-Mormon. The criticism about Romney is anti-Mormon bias. People will often take their faith and they will take criticism of the person and they will adopt that to their faith. That's what this show started with, where you guys took 20 dead children and you made this about Christianity. You made it about trans people, but like, you made yourselves the victims. And that's what like, America is like this fight for like who can be the bigger victim. All right, let me go here. Ironically, when I say I don't know who Patrick Bet David is for, this is why. If you go to the comment section of this video, you can still go watch it. The live chat's gone, but I got some screenshots. His audience isn't buying this. This is why I say it's an 80-20 issue. Most people are on the side of Palestine now. The world's coming for you, Netanyahu. This is a right-wing channel. Alfredo, America Third. Michael Sauce, we hate you. Casa John, would have been $2 trillion. Garrett Burns, what a liar. Leech is going to leech. No, they attacked Israel. No money for anyone else. America first. They're all turning on him too. So, for the Zionists that are here, you guys will all lie about this too, just like the American Nazis did. You'll pretend you weren't. Hopefully you don't have any like Zionist pictures. I want to play this Steve Witkoff now. Again, like Trump said, in that Oval Office meeting that in 2 to 3 weeks this is basically gonna be done. That there's some stuff coming down the pipeline in 2 to 3 weeks. This will be done. And now here's Steve Witkoff, who's the genius negotiating all these peace deals. Let me read some comments first. Lee said, giving the gift goal a little nudge. Rory said, the Proud Atheist said 49% of Israeli Jews consider themselves secular. Did not know that. Robin said, thanks for all you do, Jay and Jen. Danielle said, Palestinians are the most forgiving people on the planet. I can assure you they forgive you and are grateful to have you using your voice to help them. That does make me feel a little better. I don't know that gets rid of the guilt, but it makes me feel a little better. Vicky, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Betsy said for the goal. Thanks, Jen and Jay and crew. Amanda said, fuck ICE, fuck Bibi, and go Birds. I agree with 2 out of those 3. Michael said Israelis are not white at all. They're brown. I was talking about Netanyahu. I don't think you would say Netanyahu. In fact, if you go look through Israel, these are a lot of Europeans, right? They're not ethnically homogenous. And Jackie said, because I fucking love you. Thank you, Jackie.
Is Israel killing journalists and rescue workers when this hospital was targeted? There were Hamas leaders there. What is the reaction to that? And are there red lines with the Trump administration and how Israel is moving forward with this?
Well, anytime you have civilian deaths, it's a tragedy. The president he feels it. The president has met almost every single hostage family. I mean, he is as compassionate a man as I know. So anytime you have civilian hostages, that's problematic. But it's a war. And part of what we're trying to do is shut that war down. It doesn't need to continue to happen anymore. And I think that Hamas has held that region hostage for much too long, and it's time for it to end. And I think many of the Arab governments, by the way, are in that camp.
What do you mean it's time to end? It's time to obliterate it? Because that's what Netanyahu said. That's what Trump said. There is no end. Trump's not even talking about hostage exchanges now anymore. He's saying we're going to take it and then we'll kill everybody
as well.
Last thing, obviously we had
then we have Witkoff again here. I think this is I'll skip that. Witkoff at one point said Donald Trump is the most compassionate human he's ever been around because he speaks to the families of the Israeli captives. Wouldn't you also speak to the families of the Palestinian captives if you were a compassionate human being? Or do you only speak to the captives on one side? I don't think you can be the most compassionate human on earth and only have compassion for certain people. Here is Mehdi Hassan. He had on the old ambassador to the United States. It was Ayolan, I think is how you say his last name. But he used to be the ambassador to the United States from Israel. He's not anymore. I don't know what his role is now. And Mehdi Hassan's taking none of his shit. I can't believe this guy still comes on Mehdi Hassan's show. But it's getting painfully obvious that Israel doesn't fucking care anymore. They're just yeah, we're just doing it.
On Monday, Israel struck the Nasser hospital not once, but twice, killing at least 20 people, including 5 journalists, multiple first responders who had rushed to the scene, Danny, after the first strike to pull people out of the rubble. And then they were hit, and 3 of those journalists were killed in a second strike. A double tap, the kind of thing that Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Iraq used to do, what Assad has done in Syria, what Putin has done in Ukraine. Those are war crimes. Are they not? Attacking a hospital without warning, killing journalists, killing first responders in multiple strikes, and then saying it was a mistake. No, it was deliberate, cold-blooded.
Well, Mehdi, here I think we do agree on the facts on the ground. Why do we agree? Because it is investigated specifically. And this was something that, we do not do. So we are not acting
Hold on. You did it, Danny. Hold on. You can't say we do not do. You did it. Israel did it.
No, I'll tell you what's the difference. The difference is that Putin, Hamas, Assad, they never apologized for any death. Here, Netanyahu himself, the IDF, they said it was a mistake and we apologize. And when we apologize, it means we are going to investigate and correct the things.
Okay, hold on. But why do it in the first place? It wasn't an accident. You did a double tap strike on a hospital. An apology is not enough when you do a war crime like that.
Yeah, sorry about the war crime. My bad.
No, well, from what I understand is that there was a position. See, that's part of the problem. You know, when Hamas is embedded, when Hamas is using their own population, their civil population as human shields, when they put, whether it's surveillance or guns on top of mosques and hospitals.
There were no guns on top of the NASA hospital, as you know. That's a lie.
Anymore.
Danny Island, there were no guns on top of the NASA hospital.
Mehdi,
that's a lie. Can we just clarify? That is a lie. There were no guns on top of the NASA hospital.
Well, listen to what he says after this. Like there's nobody verified guns. Now listen to what he says is the justification for this strike. This almost gets worse. Like this is honestly, I don't know, maybe trigger warning. I don't know. This is the worst excuse I've ever heard to murder people. This isn't even an attempt to make a legitimate excuse for murdering people.
Listen, you know that according to the Geneva Convention, if a hospital or any other civilian place is used for terror, it's a legitimate target.
So you did attack it deliberately. Hold on, is it an accident or did you attack it deliberately? You're telling me two different things at the same time.
It was okay. It was attacked deliberately because the soldiers on the ground saw that there was a surveillance camera there that is directing snipers at them.
There's a camera. That's why they had to kill all the people in the hospital. There was a camera. Were they being sniped? No. They saw a camera, ordered a strike. Then when the first responders came in to take care of the people who had just been bombed, hopefully there were still some people alive, they hit them again for a camera, for a surveillance camera. That's the whole thing. There were not snipers that were shooting at them. There's no record of snipers shooting at them that I've seen. So if somebody has it, I'd like to see it. Then Mehdi continues here. Again, I don't know why he's going. Like, I'm desperate to get Donald Trump out of office. If for anything else, like fuck that guy's policies, fuck this ICE shit, fuck everything about Donald Trump. But Benjamin Netanyahu, before he dies, and these motherfuckers need to be held accountable. And the only reason that they will not be held accountable is because of the United States. Because the United States will not recognize the ICC. They will not recognize the UN. The United States, the most powerful military in the world, will stand in the way of Benjamin Netanyahu being held accountable for war crimes. We desperately need somebody with any sort of conscience to be in office as soon as possible. They're admitting it. They're so cocky about it that they just are coming on TV now and they're like, yeah, we did it. Netanyahu's literally coming on TV being like, yeah, of course. Of course the plan the whole time was to obliterate Palestine and get everybody out of here and kill as many people as we could. Of course it is. They're now just saying it. How the fuck are we not siding with the ICC? What justification could you possibly say here? Like, they have the right to defend themselves. If you're still saying that, like, you don't believe that. I really do think that you're just one of those people who will never admit that you're wrong in any scenario. And that's why you're still saying it. And what I would say is that nobody knows you're here. Nobody knows that you're in the YouTube chat right now. If I were you, I'd shut the fuck up. You don't have to show everybody else that you're a dipshit. You don't have to show everybody else that you're so arrogant that you'll never admit that you're wrong. Just be quiet for a while. You don't need to say shit. You can just quietly be wrong. Nobody's even going to know. That thing that you have inside of you that's like, I can't admit I'm wrong. I have to do this. Don't do it. Ignore that feeling. You don't want to be on the side of justifying a genocide.
You had the world's support on October 7th, but you lost it by doing a genocide and now by starving children in Gaza. There's a famine. That's what the world is saying. We can't tolerate the famine.
We lost it to a great extent because of Hamas propaganda. But as long as we have the United States...
It's not Hamas propaganda to say there is a famine in Gaza, Danny. That is the ruling of the IPC.
There is no famine in Gaza.
So why did the IPC say there is a famine? Why does the IPC, which defines what is and isn't a famine, and has done so for 20 years, why is it saying there's a famine in Gaza City?
The IPC changed the criteria.
That's a lie.
The IPC was not even there.
That's a lie. What criteria did they change?
It based itself
what criteria did they change, Danny? That's a lie.
No,
what criteria did they change? What criteria did they change?
Hamas data.
Hold on. Danny,
the data was Hamas data. They can't even defend any of this. By the way, this is like, you see Megyn Kelly's doing this. She's obviously getting pressure. You see Fox News doing this. They're all doing this thing now where they're like, They're like, oh, it's not really a famine. They're just good at propaganda. All this stuff that you see that we can't defend anymore, the reason we can't defend it is because they're just better at propaganda. You mean to tell me that there has ever been a country better at propaganda than Israel? Get the fuck out of here. Israel is like is the New York Yankees of propaganda. Like, nobody's better at propaganda than Israel. Nobody's getting out propagandized from Israel. We still have dipshits here that are like, oh yeah, Israel has the right to defend themselves. They are the greatest propaganda machine in the history of this country. And they're saying like, oh, the only reason you think it's a genocide is because we don't do propaganda. You know, we play it straight. But those pesky Palestinians, they're doing propaganda. What propaganda are they showing? They keep showing those videos of us like murdering them, and they keep showing videos of these starving children, and they keep showing videos of children with sniper wounds in their head, and that's not really fair because we don't have anything like that we can show. So they're winning the propaganda war. Yeah. You guys are putting out your best propaganda. They're putting out theirs, and theirs has starving and dead children, and yours doesn't. And so we're like, hey, let's not kill children. That's why you're losing.
Just made a false claim. What criteria did they change? I keep hearing this talking point. It's false. There was no change in criteria. What criteria did they change?
They changed many criteria, but
they didn't change any. Hold on. No, Daddy. What criteria did the IPC change? Because they used the same criteria, the MUAC criteria, that they used to declare a famine in Sudan last year. They used the same criteria in Gaza. You made a false claim. Let me say this, not just the IPC.
I mean, good question. Shrimp said, just a more extreme side said, so I still don't see why we can't just let them fight it out. If that's your opinion, fine, but we're not just letting them fight it out. We're funding the people doing the genocide. You can hold that opinion, and that's fine, but then you also have to criticize the United States for funding it. We're not just letting them fight it out. We're helping them. That's that's why we're complicit. Trump wouldn't be being criticized right now. Biden wouldn't have had millions of people who refused to vote for he or Harris because they were funding this genocide, right? That's where America stands. Yes, if you're a person who says we're not the world's police, fine. I think that's acceptable. If you want to say like it's not our job to go fight these wars, fine. But we are fighting this war, and we're on the side of the people doing the genocide. So if you hold that opinion, stand with us. If you don't want us fighting the world's war, stand with us when we say stop funding Israel. We don't want our government funding this. That's as much control as we have. We can't stop it. But if that's your opinion, then stand with us. Don't stand with the people funding it.
Over 100 humanitarian aid groups from around the world just signed a joint statement saying...
What do you mean Biden and Harris don't fund shit? That's Congress. Who signs it? Congress prepares the funding. Did Biden veto it? Did Kamala Harris advocate for vetoing the spending? No, let's not do this. Let's not do this thing where we pretend the Biden-Harris administration didn't rubber stamp this shit. They absolutely did. They're absolutely complicit. I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to be like, oh, only Trump is bad. They rubber stamped. Did they stop it? Did they veto it? I understand what you're saying. I understand that you're saying that like congressionally appropriated funds need to be moved. But did Biden come out openly and talk about it? Did Harris come out openly and talk about it? Did they try and pressure Democrats to stop funding it? No, they didn't. They poo-pooed it the whole way. I'm not doing this shit. I'm not. Maybe we'll lose some Democrats today. I'm not doing this shit where we pretend that Biden and Harris are not complicit. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not playing that. You're out of your fucking mind if you don't think that the Democrats were along for the ride. Yeah, they were the first ones to jump off the ship. They were the first, some Democrats were against it from the start. But we're not going to pretend that Democrats, we're not going to rewrite history like Joe Biden was so tough on Netanyahu, because he was not.
Israel is blocking them from bringing in aid. You want us to believe you, the Israeli military, Netanyahu, Smotrich, but not ANERA, Christian Aid, the Danish Refugee Council, the Norwegian Refugee Council, Polish Humanitarian Aid, Pax Christi, Sabeel Kairos, Oxfam, Doctors Without Borders, Save the Children. I could go on and on, Danny. Are you going to say they're all Hamas? They're all pro-Hamas, are they? Ridiculous.
No, I think they are naive, and I think they are basing their assessment on Hamas
No,
data.
they're not. They're not using Hamas
Show
data.
me
They're saying that we are being
there is
blocked
no
from bringing
famine.
our trucks in.
Listen,
Danny, they're not talking about
if
famine.
there was famine,
Danny, listen
I
to
don't know
me.
if you-
They're not talking about
you see-
famine. They're not talking about famine.
Did you
They're
see
saying,
famine? Did
can I
you see
finish a
famine
sentence?
in Sudan, in
Danny,
Somalia, in
they are
Africa?
not talking about
You don't see
famine
the same thing here.
or Hamas propaganda or Hamas data. They're saying their guys on the ground are being blocked from bringing in baby formula by Israelis at border crossings. That is their
If they're
experience.
blocked,
They're
no,
wrong.
this is
ANERA's wrong.
Maybe-
Christian Aid's wrong. The Danish Refugee Council is wrong. The Norwegian Refugee Council is wrong. Polish Humanitarian Action is wrong. Doctors Without Borders is wrong. Save the Children is wrong. Oxfam is wrong. 100 aid groups are all wrong, Danny. Do you realize how silly you sound?
Yeah. Incredibly silly. Running out. Illusion said, love watching Mehdi eat like that. FIDF and FBB. And Mehdi's incredible. He's incredibly skilled. But I will say this about Mehdi. What I love the most about Mehdi Hassan is that Mehdi Hassan was willing to throw away his spot at MSNBC because he said, I'm going to talk about things that are most important. I'm going to talk about the things that I'm passionate about, and I understand that's going to ruffle feathers. Mehdi Hassan lost his job at MSNBC for this. And he couldn't have done this. We wouldn't have this interview if he stayed at MSNBC. You know, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, they don't get to do this interview. They'll lose their job if they do this interview. Mehdi Hassan is, as far as like journalists go, and I have a lot of respect for journalists, real journalists. And I think journalists are some of the most important people in the history of the United States. And Mehdi Hassan, I believe, will go down as one of the most important journalists that we've ever had. He's fearless. He lost everything that he had worked for, and he kept going, and he believed in it. And now he has Mateo, which is his own company, and it was started because he said, "I'm going to say the shit that other people won't say." The respect I have for Mehdi Hassan is as high as you can get for a journalist. I would say legitimately like a. I don't know if hero is the right word, but like somebody I look up to a lot, and I aspire to be more like. Here's Molly Hunter now on NBC, because like now it's everywhere. Now the story's on mainstream news. Now Israel's looking bad on mainstream news, and they can point at propaganda all they want. But if we're talking about NBC, we're talking about Morning Joe criticizing Israel. You know, like the propaganda just doesn't work anymore. Like we're out. You can't argue anymore.
This is from Reuters just now, a few moments ago. It's a developing story. Things are still fluid, but Reuters also confirms that one of its journalists, a man named Hussam al-Masri, was killed in this strike, but adds this detail. There had been apparently an initial strike at the hospital there, at a hospital in Gaza. Journalists and rescue workers then responded to the scene
to cover it,
to help people, whatever, to check the damage, to see what's going on. And then a second strike came. So that's why these rescue workers and journalists were killed, because they were responding to a hospital. Israel hit it again. That's according to Reuters, which said they had a live stream on the hospital that, of course, then went dark when the strike hit. So for more, let's now bring in NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter, who joins us live from Jerusalem. Molly, what more can you tell us?
Jonathan, Mika, you guys have laid it out really well. So it happened around 10 a.m. this morning. And for context, to give our audience a lay of the land, Nasser Hospital is the largest, the only functioning hospital in the South. And the part of Nasser Hospital that was hit, you guys, is really important. You can see it in the videos. It was a staircase. And the reason this staircase was targeted very clearly is that this is where journalists since the early days of the war have gathered to get Wi-Fi signal. We have seen videos they've posted on social media. Our team, which used to work right close to that staircase, would share videos of them holding their phones to the sky, kind of huddled over laptops in the wee hours of the night. But journalists, since the beginning of this war, you guys, since they have been personally displaced, have flocked to hospitals to use resources like Wi-Fi, to use power, to use water. So this staircase, journalists were on the staircase this morning when it was struck around 10 a.m. And as Jonathan just laid out, minutes later, as first responders were racing up to that area, as other journalists in the area were going to cover the strike, another drone strike hit that same exact spot. Mika, we actually have updates from the numbers that you just read. As Jonathan says, this is a very fast-moving story. It is now at least 20 people killed, including 5 journalists. As you mentioned, AP, Reuters, and Al Jazeera have all said that at least 3 of those journalists were working for them. And this brings the total of journalists killed in Gaza since October 7th to 245 journalists, media workers. These are our colleagues, our peers who have been killed in the last 22 months, guys.
It's me, Mudpaw, said, sounds like they targeted journalists. Of course they targeted journalists. They've been murdering journalists this entire time. We never care, and the United States never cares. We don't care if they're American journalists, if they work for American outlets. It does not matter. What Danielle said, 100, Biden is complicit. He should be charged for G-side. I don't know about that. I don't think that'll ever happen. But I do think I think that you're alluding to something, though, that in America we chose between two candidates. One of them said, like, we're going to continue the genocide, and I guess he said he was going to end the war, which I don't know why any of you guys believed that. Ending the war, like, he's literally never going to end this war in Palestine. He literally is just saying now, like, I don't fucking care. We're gonna run it dry. So he lied to you guys, and you bought that. He said he would end all these wars. He hasn't ended a single war. But I do think as Americans, like, we probably need to look at that. That it wasn't a deal breaker for us. That you had somebody who was semi open to the idea of a genocide, that a genocide was being committed, and somebody who didn't give a fuck. And I think that says a lot more about, like, the American voter than anything. He won't be held accountable. I don't think Netanyahu will either. I wish he would, but I don't think so. Sandra said, I am an 80-year-old woman, and you have taught me so much in how to debate conservatives. Look forward to your show every day, and I'm so proud to support you. Sandra, I'm sorry for all the potty words. I do know that I look at the demographics, and I'm surprised at some of the people that show up every day. It makes me happy, though, to know that my potty words don't scare you away. Pink said, my heart is heavy, my bank account is light, but here's my tithe to help the plight. Thank you. Andrea said, thank you for speaking on issues. I got that, and I think I missed one over here. This was beautiful. Who said this? This was James. James said, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. That's a Thomas Jefferson quote, and a beautiful one. Namaste said, couldn't handle Jen's guilt trip any longer. Jen's been pouring it on. James said, good show, bud. Denise, thanks for joining the dollar train. And Jackie said, because I fucking love you. I think I read that one already. All right. I do have a hard cutoff today, so I got to go. But tomorrow is Friendly Friday, the friendliest Friday on all of the internet. So the last hour of the show, if you want to come up and talk, make sure you're just a member of the Discord. And it is friendlies only tomorrow. So if you'd like to debate, you have to get in before that. I've got a lot of stuff still to cover tomorrow. Jen, did you have anything?
Yeah, I want to tell Michelle thank you for the Venmo. And Alyssa said, we weren't taught how to process G-side. We need to witness this and emotionally process this as best as we can. For those who can't, that's how I feel anyway. I can't look away from this.
Yeah, it is easy to ignore it. I certainly did for a long time. It is easier to ignore it and just not confront what's happening. But once you do confront what's happening, I agree, it's hard to look away. It's hard to think about like anything else. I appreciate you guys, Queen's 10. Are you guys calling me a queen? I would love that. Listen, there's nothing wrong with queens. I love queens. Queens rule. You guys, we're just ending with the gay slurs. Listen, guys, that's not going to hurt anybody's feelings here. We that's not a slur here. Calling people gay is not a slur. It's just we like gay people. We like all people. I don't like some of you so much. Do we have a raid set up? Somebody said raid Lux. Is Bree here? Bree, are we raiding? Oh, there is Bree right there. That was Bree that said it. Oh shit, there we go. All right, we're gonna raid Lux over on Twitch. Jen, do we have somebody to raid on TikTok?
I haven't looked. No.
I'll pull it up real quick. We'll raid somebody. Let's see. Who haven't we raided?
I think Paige or Reggie is on. Wait. Actually, that would be very appropriate if you want to.
No, Athena's live. That's the most appropriate.
Is Athena on? Oh, okay,
yeah.
It's here.
Okay. Is it Covey or Covey? How do you say that?
Covey 2.0.
Covey. All right. Covey 2.0. That's who we're going to raid. Tell them RTP sent you. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time here on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching it. I don't know if I said TikTok. You can catch the replays on YouTube. We have merch in the bio, also Cameo. If you want to get some information to me, make sure you join the Discord or send me a DM on Twitter. Usually, if you have links you want me to cover, and I'll try to get to those. Other than that, Jen, did you need? I'm hearing echo. Did you have something else?
No, sorry.
Okay. All right. Jay throwing slurs is just insane. Did I throw a slur? I don't think I threw a slur. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time. And take care of yourselves. Stay cute and cool. And have a great, great summer.